What's up? Oh man, that angle's terrible. I have a Pippin sleeping behind the computer right now, so it's probably causing an awkward angle and some earthquake effect. All of the glorious features of a CKN stream are here in one. This is Sanctuary by Elder, off of the Album of the Year winning album, Reflections of the Forgotten World. Album of the year 2017. Love the shirt, thank you very much. Knuckle Duster is actually, they are no more, unfortunately. They were a group that was out of West Virginia. One of my guitar players, whenever I was in a band back in college, was actually the singer/guitar player for the group. He is now located across the country. So, yeah, that's a little different. Would be a little difficult to do. Had to consider his career. Had to consider his life with his fiancée. They're going to get married. I still can't believe I'm saying that about him. Hey, Scott. Yeah, I've listened to just about... In fact, I think I have listened to every Mars Volta album. Former members of At the Drive-In, which I liked before they became the Mars Volta. They released Relationship of Command, and then the project At the Drive-In ended, and Mars Volta began, and now they're back to being At the Drive-In, and who knows what's going to happen next. These guys are just kind of crazy, kooky guys that are extremely talented musicians. So, good on them. I just realized my phone needs charged really, really bad. Not a good time for that to start. We're going to hope that 10% is able to survive a little while prior to me having to take the walk of shame over to where my charger is and be far, far away from my phone, which means far, far away from your wonderful donations and your wonderful messages. Thank you all once again who joined me on Saturday. We had a really, that was a kind of a depressing stream a little bit on Saturday. Friday was not that much happier. But thank you for those of you who did join me for those streams, offering your well wishes and everything like that. You might see that now officially in the top left-hand corner, you see the word CKN Retirement Tour. Coverkillernation Retirement Tour, rather. Yes, we have now entered into the home stretch of that. We have about 2 months remaining, and the time is going and moving very, very quickly. And there's a lot of things that will be coming. Scott, I was not. I wasn't enjoying life for about the past week. It was not a good one. It was not a good week whatsoever. However, things are definitely better right now. I am energized. I'm energetic. I'm a bit hungry. But we're going to just kind of push through like we usually do. That is the CKN way. Never ever eat before a stream, because then you might have to shit during the stream. I don't think that's ever happened, though. Yeah, Relationship of Command is probably their best known work, At the Drive-In, that is, and probably their best. I know there's going to be some countering opinions on that, but they had a song, that was the album that featured the song that I think gave them the attention that they deserved, which was One Arm Scissor. I myself am personally more of a fan. You know what? Before we get into some of Meatmun's Q, let's go with my favorite song off of that album, which is not One Arm Scissor. Song entitled Invalid Litter Department. I've loved this song for a very, very long time. Now I'm getting ads for that Ford versus Ferrari that are unskippable, so it's 15 seconds of just dead air time that I have to be entertaining. You know, fuck me, right? So here's Invalid Litter Department by At the Drive-In. It's all coming out of just one channel for me. There we go. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Yeah, there's a very big difference between At the Drive-In and the Mars Volta, and I think that's why it was done in a different project as opposed to staying with the At the Drive-In name. At the Drive-In had a lot more. There's a lot more of that like post-hardcore approach with what they do, and this was the post-hardcore from the late 1990s and early 2000s. So it's very different than what the word and the term post-hardcore has kind of evolved to mean and evolved to sort of become, I guess. So you're going to notice a little bit of a different tone. And then the Mars Volta, the best way I can consider them is they're very progressive. They are kind of like revered or talked about heavily in progressive circles. It was almost like a complete 180. It was very sort of creatively a blank slate for the band, which is very cool. Yeah, Meatball, what he's talking about is that we have, song requests are open. It's $1 per minute worth of airtime, but we won't be getting to those for a while since Meatman is here because we have requests of his from a long time ago in order to get to, and that includes most of the Vektor discography. I do have a question for you, Meatman, and that is, we did begin one of those albums. I know that you had fallen asleep because you were extremely ill, like I was whenever we were going through it. Should we start it from the beginning, or should we pick up where we left off, which was track 8 on Black Future? I think I know what the answer is going to be for this, but I always like to present the choice. I think it's the fair thing to do. I think that's what makes me a little different than some other streamers or some other content creators. A lot of folks like to say that you're in control. I like to actually give y'all some control, you know. I think that the Astros are now going to win the World Series because Donald Trump showed up at National Stadium. I think he has officially cursed the team. 86 years from now, we're going to be talking about the curse of the Trumpino, or the curse of the Trumpy goat. Can't call it the curse of the Billy Trump. That would sound like that's the guy's name, which it's not. It'd be the curse of the Donnie Trump, I guess. So, if you're in Washington, I would enjoy that Stanley Cup you guys won. Because I have a feeling that y'all just got, like, super cursed. I think y'all just got super cursed by that. Because, man, that reaction was bad. Did you hear that reaction? Those of you who are sports fans, or those of you who just, you know, have an opinion about politics. And, oh, man. Brad Duffy is in the building. He just tossed a 3 to hear The Secret of Flight by Saxon. Good track. Like I said, we'll get to that. It'll be a while. Since Meatman is here, we are going to get into Vektorthon. So again, I have to say this because I see Alex Flamer talking about the biggest jerks of the year list, and a member of Vektor is going to be on there. In fact, a member of Vektor might take the top spot. This is happening because somebody donated for it, and somebody really likes their work and really wants to. Someone really appreciates the music. This is not a consignment, nor is it a reflection on the individual. It is not an endorsement toward him as an individual. It is instead the opposite. It is a reflection of the music, which is why we're here. We're here for music. That is why we are here. To listen to music, to talk about life, to talk about sports, wrestling, really anything under the sun that you want to discuss. There's a good chance that I'm going to talk about it. I have been exceptionally personal in the past. You know, I've talked a lot about me and things that I've gone through. I've been a bit, perhaps, overly transparent. But, yes. Start at the beginning with Black Future, very good. That's fine. I kind of expected that was going to be the answer, all things considered, because I like to have the people in and aware that their songs are being played. So we will start directly at the beginning of Black Future, and we're going to roll right along until we get to the ending point of Terminal Redux, which was the 2016 album of the year, which I now somewhat have to almost consider an asterisk album of the year, because of David DeSanto's actions, which is not something I'm comfortable with, not something I'm very pleased with, but feel is somewhat the correct thing to do. Not sure where that is going to sit whenever we do the album of the year, or album of the decade list that was funded through the bid war. It's going to be a very interesting situation. But with that said, we are going to get ourselves going with Black Future by Vektor. This thing still even has my my place saved, but it is unnecessary because we're going to be starting from the beginning. Mittens is voicing his opinion in the background. Mittens, come in and be on stream, bud. So here we go. We are starting it off. Here is Black Future by Vektor. We are going to be throwing out everything to you, the whole entire beast, the whole entire album, starting with the title track, Black Future. So like I said, Brad, if you happen to, I thank you very much for the donation. If you happen to have to depart prior to us getting to that song, keep that song in mind, because the next time I see you in chat, that song is going to be played. I do not play songs that people have donated for unless they themselves are in chats. Anytime that gets, that pact gets broken, I kind of feel shitty. So I'm going to make sure that you hear the song that you donated for, because I'm very, very thankful for that. I appreciate it. Hi, Maru. I finally did this morning, and it was a really hard conversation to have. I sent her a text and said that I really needed to talk, and she was gracious enough to call me almost immediately, which I wasn't expecting, if I'm being honest. I never expect that. I always kind of expect people to take their sweet time. I think I need to just realize that she's different, It's never going to be. It's never going to be similar to other things that I've experienced, and I think that's a bad habit that I sometimes have. I'm very much familiarized a lot with negativity and loss, and very familiarized with being sort of taken advantage of or being sort of left by the wayside, very easily forgotten about, things of that variety. And as a result, I don't think I expect kindness, I don't think I expect kindness very easily. And it was a really heartfelt conversation. I kind of poured out my soul, because that's all I knew to do. I knew that my reasoning for being just completely destroyed was quite irrational. And it was very much confirmed to me that, yes, I did not cause harm. Things actually worked out a little bit better than I had thought. But I did also get the opportunity to say a lot of what I felt, and it felt very good to do all of that, despite the fact that the result may not be exactly what I was hoping for. You can't get everything that you want in life for one, but the most important thing that I have is I'm a very rich man, because I still had a wonderful friend of 13 years that I love to death, I would do anything for. Because that's the thing, despite the fact that I had sort of such a negative after effect to going out there and helping her in her time of need, you bet your ass I would do it again in a heartbeat. There would be no question, nothing. There would be no question whatsoever. So, I am doing better today, Maru, and I can guarantee you that a big reason why is because I did get the opportunity to finally speak to her, and actually, sort of nutted up and did it, instead of maybe thinking about, excusing myself somehow. But Duffy tossed it in 4. Man just doesn't care. He's like, you know what? I respect what you do. £4 coming in, or €4 coming in rather. I think it's been so long since I've handled a lot of super chats that I kind of just forget stuff. Once again, Beautiful Morning by Machine Head. Interesting choice. Very cool. We will, like I said, eventually get to that. I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for everybody, like I said, who was here on Friday and Saturday that were offering their takes, offering their opinions. And especially the biggest thing are those of you that stuck around and didn't judge me, considering a lot of my reasons for being so down were kind of irrational and didn't seem like they made a lot of sense. But that's, again, like I explained then, that's my head. That's the mark of an overthinker. That's something that can't be controlled, unfortunately, and that's one of the worst feelings to have, is that you cannot control these things. Back in the day, in the 2000s, I wrote a ton. I wrote an absolute ton, and I think that did some help. I think it also did some harm, kind of furthered some of the madness at times. I don't do that nearly as much these days. I've been in just a huge writer's block for a while. So I sort of had to search for a couple of different outlets in order to keep myself going over the past couple of days, and streaming was one that definitely helped a ton. You guys are, like I said, just a great bunch. You're first class to one another, and you're first class to me, and I in turn hope that I have been able to return the favor in the past. I know there's no doubt some where they would have a disagreeing opinion on that, and that's fine. You can't please everybody. Brad, I haven't seen the new Terminator movie, and I'll be honest, it wasn't really high on my to-do list. I stopped watching the Terminator series after watching part 3. It just sort of didn't hold my interest as well. But I hear that the series itself is pretty good. I hear the series is pretty decent. I just sort of fell out of interest of it, you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't so much something that was on my high on my priority list. Yep, Mario, that is, if you needed to define me, that is a great way. It's a great way to define me. And believe me, throughout the course of my 11-year career here on YouTube, that has happened quite a bit. There has been a lot of harshness. Nobody, as I said in a status on Facebook, nobody breaks me quite the same way that I break me. Nobody can break me as well as I break me. Ophelia, how you doing? Truth Warrior. That is the thing that I think I needed to do. I also needed to hear that. I guess in this case, I needed to hear that I didn't need to be forgiven. Not that I shouldn't be forgiven, or that it was that I would be unforgiven, or unforgiven 2 or 3. But really, how it sort of turned out was that it wasn't even necessary. But so my question to all of you is, over this past weekend, we had a lot of new releases. We had a lot of stuff that came out that just, I noticed a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of these albums blew people's minds. What album from this weekend really stood out for you? What really stood out for you this weekend between the myriad of releases that we got? So many names that even if I list them all, which I'm about to do, I'm no doubt going to forget a couple. I mean, we had new albums from Alcé, we had new albums from Swans, Sun, Ginger, Mayhem, Fit for an Autopsy. I mean, the list just goes on and on of new releases that we had. Nationals in 7? I don't see it. I actually don't see it. I see Astros in 6. When I think about Guns N' Roses doing a new album, well, at least they haven't been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and drowning things out with sound for 12 years, like we got whenever Chinese Democracy finally came out. You know, it's one of those situations where I don't think it's necessary. I don't think they need to. You know, I think their legacy is firmly intact, even with Chinese Democracy being a dud, in my opinion. Again, I'm just one man. There are some people that absolutely adore that album. Some of them I think are completely and totally jaded, but, you know, potato, potato. Potato, potato, you know. I'm never right whenever it comes to music, because music is totally subjective. Which means I'm also always right. You know, but it also means you're always right and you're always wrong. So, it's cool. Whatever. Alcé was actually an album that I listened to last night that really brought out a lot of sunshine in me. It was a very positive album. It put a smile on my face. Not to mention it was also very well constructed and very well executed. You know, it reminded me a lot of some of the feelings that I got from their first couple of albums, going all the way back to their debut. But it feels like that with each passing album, the glow gets a little bit softer and brighter. You know, more warm tones with that music than some of what we got initially, which did seem like it was still trying to maintain a little bit of that sort of darkness. You've been listening to Between Lifetimes all weekend and today at work. Well, we do have that in the queue also. That will eventually be there. That will eventually be coming up on stream also. So, I mean, we do have it's a long queue, but it's not long with a ton of tracks. It's actually just lengthy due to some larger ideas. Like on Saturday, we got through most of Evil Toad's huge $200 donation from last week. Had a lot of 10 plus minute songs on it. We still do have a couple more that we need to listen to. But those are all, as I can recall, they're all sub 10 minutes. It's a 17 minute long stretch. We have the entire Vektor discography, which is what we are attacking right now by listening to Black Future. We will, of course, move forward after that. Outer Isolation, and then finally Terminal Redux. And we have the new ILO album to listen to, which was requested by Evil Toad. I believe it was on Friday. Or Saturday, it was one of the two. 100% prompted because I hadn't listened to the album yet. It's a 2019 release. And then we do have 2 songs now from Brad, which I thank you very much for that. Have I heard Sabaton's new album? I did. Not bad. Not bad. The one thing I'll say is that the Sun album, it didn't hit me the same way as Life Metal at all. It didn't hit me the same way as Life Metal at all. Life Metal just was amazing. It was such a great experience to listen to. This one was, I understand it was from the same sessions. It was based off of improvisation and exercise by the participants of Life Metal, by the crew that was behind that album. However, again, I feel like I need to take some of the instructions that Sun did actually enclose or disclose and try to listen to that stuff like sort of within a listen of Life Metal, or, you know, try to just explore around with it. But Of course, whenever you judge an album, you judge it based off of what it itself gives you. You know, what it itself gives you. So you have to go with that. Yeah, the new Alter Bridge was a disappointment. I was not too pleased with it. It only was able to muster about an 18.5. The new Leprous album also just a 20 out of 30. So it's there have been a couple of big time successes that we've gotten over the past couple of weeks, but there have also been a couple of pretty big flops. Hey, Water Blanc. Welcome to the machine. Welcome to Vektor Hector. We are finally diving back into Vektor with the Vektor-a-thon, that thong. Yeah. All the Bridges' worst is still better than Creed's best. I don't know. That'd be a hard one for me to... I would have to actually sit down and re-listen to Creed's albums. Because I have not listened to those albums all the way through in probably close to 15 years. It's been a long, long time. It has been a long, long time. Mont Blanc, it was a pair of very, very rough streams is what you missed. We had a surprise stream on Saturday, mostly because I felt like it was not to my benefit to just be sort of sitting here by myself, wallowing in my own misery. So that was rectified by a stream that was helped out dearly by those who participated. A lot of real talk, a lot of life talk, James Hetfield is out of rehab. That would be, well, I guess it wouldn't be that quick of a stay. It has been a couple of weeks. I mean, what do you really, how long does a rehab session actually last? I feel like that's something where maybe the initial few weeks are, you working at the facility, on a constant basis in order to give you, get yourself clean and get yourself at baseline. But then after that, I feel like maybe you just have to, maintain a lot of, contact. Kind of keep yourself in there. The Man was very good. I think the Alcé was also better. The Sun, like I said, I felt was a little bit weaker. But then again, I thought that Life Metal was just... Life Metal might be their best work. I haven't listened to Ginger yet, nor did I listen to Bad Wolves. I still need to listen to that new Swans album that everyone's been raving about. Pirates of Fire, Neil Huntington. What are my thoughts? He needed to go. He definitely needed to go, but there's still one person that needs to go that isn't going to be going, and that's Bob Nutting. And yeah, before you make fun of his name, that's his real name. And honestly, also, yeah, it's his real name because he is a fucking douche. One of the biggest, I would say, proprietors of the failings of the Pirates, or the inability to gain consistency, is based off of his ownership of the team and his lacking of a desire to spend money. The Q, currently, we have, as of right now, Vektor, Hector, Dector, Schechter, William Shatner, Thong-de-dong-de-dong-de-thon. So we're going to be listening to Vektor quite a bit. We're right now listening to Black Future. from Vektor. Currently about 18 minutes in, so we just made it to track number 4, which is Forests of Legend. Yeah, I actually have to have the AC on today. It's on very, very low, but it does still need to be present because it's in the 70s once again, which is, again, hey, I'm not complaining. It's 72 degrees outside right now. The sun is shining. I mean, it is beautiful. It is honestly beautiful. If the weather remained like this for the rest of my life, I think I'd be okay with it. Just a little bit warmer this summertime. That's all I ask for. You know, late spring, early summer can be just a little bit warmer than this. Nothing too crazy. And I think I'd be fine. I think I'd be good. Mustaine finished up his treatment. What's my thoughts about it? There's not much really to say, man. You know, the thing about treatment, we've seen that with Alex Trebek, and haven't seen it with Bruce Dickinson, which is good. Cancer's kind of a tricky thing. Early detection is always really important to long-term success, as well as what kind of cancer that it is and how aggressive that it is acting. So we'll just sort of have to wait and see. You know, we'll have to see how things go. I'm hoping that Dave is able to make a full recovery, and then he doesn't have to worry about it for a long time. Or ever again. I think that would be even better. You know, cancer's a horrible thing. So, I mean, that's all that I can really say about that. That's all you can hope for anybody who goes through cancer treatments. You hope that they got everything. You hope they were able to get to it early enough where recovery is not only a possibility, but something that is closer to a guarantee. So that's all that you can hope for. You can just hope for a quick recovery, and you just hope more so that it is not something they have to deal with ever again. People in my family, there were some of them where cancer was what ultimately killed them, and others who are 20 plus year survivors. I think Fed's new album is going to be their most ambitious to date. I don't know, the last one was pretty ambitious. They kind of took a big risk with Winter, so the Deadlight, I think, you know, if they decide to go that direction with it, then I mean, that's 100% on them, and best of luck to them. I, for one, was a very big fan of the album. I know that there are some mixed reactions among the community, but I think what Fed needs to do for the Deadlight is just release a damn solid album, and that's all that they need to do. They don't necessarily, you know, it's not the same situation as with Insomnium, where if they release an album that is unlike Winter, it's going to feel like it immediately doesn't size up. Because I think with Insomnium there is a little bit of that spoil factor from how really sort of transformative Winter's Gate was, where despite Heart Like a Grave being tremendous, it just doesn't quite feel like it matches up, you know, if you were looking at those two albums side by side. So I think all Fed needs to do is release a very solid album, be them, you know, innovate here and there, you know, don't be happy with stagnation or with just, you know, resting on your laurels. You know, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter anyway, considering the album is pretty much done. It just needs to be released. It's going to be one of the last albums of this year to be released. May, in fact, be the last standard album review I ever do. It's very possible that will be the finale of my album review career here on YouTube, which wasn't by design. Not at all. That's just how time works. But does anybody remember what the very first album review of and I'm going to make this even a little bit more challenging. What was the first album review of the coverkillernation channel, not the Coverkiller channel? Everybody knows where the first one for Coverkiller was, and for the 11 years, but for this channel here, what was the first album review? Nikki Sixx versus Steel Panther. Nikki Sixx looks like a fool. Nikki Sixx looks like a fool. I'll be honest with you, I kind of don't know the answer to the question. I don't think it's the Obsidian Conspiracy, though. I believe I know what band it was. St. Anger Redone? That's actually very possible. That might be exactly right. Not what I was thinking about. Because again, like I said, I don't know the answer. Hey Brandon, I've been doing better today. I finally got a little bit of closure on what had been bothering me for quite a while and got me very down. So that was a help. Thanks for your concern, dude. I appreciate that. There are currently 2 cats in the room. Pippin is directly behind the computer, and Lazy is actually right over here taking a little nap. Pippin just woke up because of me moving the camera. He's a sleepy boy. And Mittens has been coming in and out periodically as well. I believe that the first review that was done on this channel, and again, I can't confirm it, I'd have to look it up, was We're Here 'Cause We're Here by Anathema. I actually feel like that was the first like actual review that wasn't like a St. Anger redone or a CKN is back, what to expect from this channel, blah blah blah, you know. Oh boy. Oh, it is the Obsidian Conspiracy, then it's the Obsidian Conspiracy. I'll be damned. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know. You know how many videos have been done on this channel? It's kind of crazy. There's over, I think there's like 2,000. I think there's 2,000. A lot of stuff. Like, actually made another Legacy tour. I unfortunately did not. I unfortunately didn't. I've seen Maiden a couple of times already, so I would like to see him one more time before they hang it up. I would like to see him one more time before they hang it up. I think that would be awesome. You know, gotta support the boys. I just haven't had the opportunity. Yeah, well, time is a thing, OA. There are very few things consistent with whenever this channel began in the year 2010. Really, and you can go even further back to whenever just the Cover Killer channel began. There are very few things that are consistent between those moments. Elud was 2011, so that was more than a year in. Waterblanc dropping the 229, going with Dreaming Light by Anathema. Like I was telling Brad, it may take some time for us to get to that, but we will eventually get to that, dude. Thank you. You're back. I didn't even know you left. Crap. Was I supposed to wait? Fuck. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze again. When's Box Me coming back? Box Me is, Box Me was probably, I don't know, turned into another box. Box Me kind of got thrown out. And I have a feeling what actually happened was that, I was trying to get rid of actual, like, clutter within the rooms and stuff. Or it might have been whenever, like, one of the times I moved. But, yeah, Box Me is, you know, rip Box Me. No longer with us. No, exactly, Waterblanc, yeah. See, Waterblanc gets it. Waterblanc understands. It's basically like, guaranteed airtime. It's just that whenever it comes, You know, you got to be there. It's not like whenever you call in, or whenever you used to call in to a DJ, and they would record the call. They would go through a full block of songs, like maybe 20 or 30 minutes worth of music before. What is going on with you, bud? You're just like going crazy. Whatever. They would go through, 20 to 30 minutes worth of material, and then maybe they would get to your request. They maybe would get to your request. Can't find anything on the old Discover Killer channel. How can you get there if you can? You can't. That channel got suspended. That is a... Unfortunately, those videos are no more. So some real classics got decimated with the fall of that channel, which was 2009-ish to mid-2010. In fact, it got suspended one day after I recorded a tribute to Ronnie James Dio. And I think it was the usage very softly in the background of that video of Holy Diver that was the damning blow. One of the big problems that I think came from that channel is twofold. First of all, YouTube back then had a 3 strikes you're out policy. So there was none of this stuff where like limited ads would be run on a video or this or that. It was basically if you got caught with copyright infringement or what they considered copyright infringement at that time. This was before the Google deal, mind you. It was a strike to your channel, 3 strikes you were out. The good old days. And I had posted music to the channel for 2 reasons. For one, I wanted to attract a little bit of, a little attention to the channel, show that, hey, there's music here, but we also, I do other things, I talk about music, kind of show what I'm all about, so it was like a little bit of promotion. But it was also stuff that I didn't see on YouTube. And I know that people like to, listen to stuff on YouTube. I was getting that a lot. It was like, man, why can't I find this stuff on YouTube? And I'm just thinking, I can help you out with that. So, it's just kind of a shitty thing that I recorded a tribute to Ronnie James Dio's death and played a little bit of Holy Diver in the background, and that was the final straw, apparently. That was the 3rd strike. And after that happened, I was not sure what I was going to do. I initially thought that I was not going to come back, and that part of my life was over. I have a favorite Revocation album. Not really, if I'm being honest. That's not a slight toward them at all. It's just, whenever I think about the band, nothing immediately juts out to me. Will they ever release All That Remains ever release another good album? I mean, that's on them. And again, it's subjective a little bit as well. I personally think that they still have it in them. I think it's still very possible and could be done. Can't predict the future. It's very much based off of what you think. If you listen to their next album and you love it, then the answer to that question is yes. If the question is more so like, will they ever release another like sort of highly, critically praised album? That I think is going to be a little bit different, a little bit harder to really pin down. Mostly because I don't see groups like that, or a lot of metal in general, being utilized very much in criticism anyway. Which sucks. Oh yeah, let me tell you, I'm going to plug in my phone for a second, or for a little bit here. But I'll tell you, you know how everybody wants to have their, like, where were you for 9/11, or for, maybe for Pearl Harbor, or the day that Kennedy was shot. These are all very American things. I'm sure that there are, like, where were you moments, in your own countries as well. Things that were extremely important that you never forget. But in a moment, allow me to share where I was whenever I found out the news about Ronnie. Yes, the walk of shame. I must take it. I am shamed. Shamed and shunned. Go over here and place a cord into a device. It also consequently means if you donate via PayPal, I'm not going to see it for a while. So, surprise is welcome. Surprise is welcome. So, RJD, Ronnie James Dio, our legend, our godfather, our metal grandfather, pretty much, passed away in 2010. Godspeed, I do like some, yes. I haven't listened to Godspeed in quite a long time, if I'm being honest. Listened to them a bit more, I think, whenever I was in college. Did review an album of theirs throughout my career. I think just one, though. I don't think I reviewed any more than one. So, whenever it went down, I was actually not in Pennsylvania. I was on my way back to PA. I was in Dayton, Ohio. Every year, for a number of years, from about 1999, or I think the year 2000, until 2010, this was in fact the last year that I went with my father to Dayton, Ohio, for the amateur radio Ham Fest. For the Hamvention, as they call it. It was the largest amateur radio festival in the world. And we did that every single year. We did that every single year for a long time. He still goes. I do not any longer. My experience in 2010 was admittedly not a good one. I had a lot that was going on in my life. I had actually just taken part in a pretty nasty breakup a couple of weeks before that. And there was still a lot of bitterness and still a lot of hard feelings. There was still a lot of communication that was taking place, which didn't exactly make it that much easier. And actually plays an ironic part in this story. Because I was, we were on our way home, and I had fallen asleep, not driving, obviously. I had fallen asleep on the passenger side of my father's truck, and woke up only because we had reached a gas station. I needed to gas up, get some fuel, whatever it was, and I happened to look down at my phone, which back at that point was one of those old Blackberries. If you remember Blackberry phones, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I had a text from my ex at the time that told me that Ronnie James Dio had died. And so I fucking bawled. I fucking bawled, man, right there in the car. I had to keep myself sort of together for whenever my father re-emerged, which was not that long after. But that was I think that was such a hard moment, because while there had been a number of people who had passed between Dimebag Darrell and Ronnie James Dio, death does not take a break. Death doesn't take a vacation. It's constant, just like life is constant. That was probably the biggest metal death that we had in that time span. No disrespect to any others who passed in that's a gap of time. Which that gap was a gap of, I believe, I want to say 6 years. So it was a hard death for a lot of us to take. It was one that was impossible for a lot of us to sort of get over right away. Dio was kind of like our grandfather that taught us how to be metalheads. Okay, what a block. Go take care of that stuff, man. Hope you're doing okay. We'll see you next time. But once again, whenever I got home immediately, I made a tribute video. It was the first tribute video I believe that I ever made. It was the first tribute video that I ever made, and almost became the last, considering it was almost the last video to ever be up. I posted it. It was pretty late at night. I want to say it was like around maybe 9 or 10 o'clock the day of his passing. And the next morning I woke up and went to log into YouTube to see how the video, what the response was to the video, see what the comments were like. I wanted to see the outpouring for Dio, because I knew that was going to be the case. I was looking forward to talking to a lot of metal fans and sharing stuff about Dio and talking about Rainbow or his time in Sabbath or Elf, Heaven and Hell. We're just talking about Dio the person, talking about seeing him live with Motorhead and Iron Maiden. It was probably the first big show. It was the first big show actually that I ever went to. And I couldn't log in. I couldn't log in at all. Where I was for the death of Dio was getting the news from an ex that I was having a really rough moment with, at that time. Because she had essentially, she will say that she decided to go a different way with her love life. I believe wholeheartedly that she cheated on me. But we were still trying to work things out and maintain a friendship. Something that I do tend to do, something that in some cases bites me on the ass. But I also know that I would want that as well if I had ever, decided to go a different way with my love life. You know what I'm saying? I would want to still maintain a friendship with my ex. Especially if nothing really happened to, really expedite the process. Nothing truly horrible went down. Which, in many cases, a lot of my relationships have ended very civilly, in theory. The big issue that I was running into a lot was a lot of them were happened very unexpectedly. And in a number of cases in the 2000s, the way in which it was done was kind of bush league. It was, instead of being done in person, instead of being done face to face, it was done via a text message. It was done via a MySpace post, if you can believe that. I, for a time there, had found just about every way to be sort of dumped that didn't involve somebody actually standing in front of me and saying the words. Actually being forward about it. And this was another case of that as well. It was being dumped essentially via Facebook message. That was a new one. That was a new one. But Dio is somebody that I think, even if you didn't necessarily like his music, even if you were not the biggest fan of any of the bands that he was in, which sounds impossible, but hey, tastes are different between people, don't forget. He was always a metalhead or a performer that everybody in metal respected. You loved Dio simply because of his importance, and he was the biggest little man in metal. He was the heavy metal hobbit, and he also had the world's biggest heart whenever it came to respect toward others within the music scene, and also just respect toward fans and people in general. Really a model individual. Really a model individual to to look up to. I can't really speak much about the afterlife or anything like that. Obviously I've never been there. The one thing that I can tell you is that whenever I was damn close to 2008, the only thing I saw was blackness, unfortunately. Which could very well mean that I was not actually near death at all, that I had a steady enough heartbeat where I never slipped into true death, but it also could mean that that's just what it is. Perhaps it's all just a projection. It's something that we ourselves create. In the fleeting moments prior to our brain shutting off, we create this idea and this sort of place.
I was diagnosed with chloric plexus carcinoma.
What the hell? An ad? Hey, you don't do that to me. I was going to say, I don't remember there being an advertisement for St. Jude's Hospital in the middle of Black Future. I hadn't listened to the album in a while, but I don't remember that being there. But, perhaps that's all that it is. Perhaps it's something that in the fleeting moments prior to our ultimate end, our brain concocts us a heaven. Heaven being an abstract idea, not, the official word utilized by any sort of religion, whether it be Christianity or otherwise. So, I always thought about how interesting it would be, and maybe this would be a really weird television concept that somebody can steal that has much more talent than I do. Imagine a whole entire series that is based around somebody who dies and ends up in their version of heaven. And they learn a lot about what the concept of heaven is. It probably would not be a show that would stay on television for very long. I can't imagine all of that much in the way of conflict, to be there in order for the show to be all that interesting. I guess it would have to be more of a comedy that's intermixed with philosophy. Philosophical comedy, if you will. But I always felt that would be a really sort of challenging idea, like a very interesting treatment to try to do. To try to somehow make an idea, or make a show, or even just, I guess, a novel, even if it's just like a small little novella about the idea of heaven. Because there's a lot of different ways that you could think about it. You could also, you could just as simply attribute that your mind doesn't actually create what quote-unquote heaven is. It is instead something that you go to and is predestined, it is predetermined, and maybe it's not exactly what you think. A lot of conversations out there that say, you're going to see all the loved ones that have left you, and, you're going to see this and that and this and that. What if you go up there, and it's basically just a gigantic apartment building? It's an apartment building that's 577 miles high and 1,289 miles wide. It's got a depth that goes on for perhaps eons. And within this building, you just sort of roam and wander around. You do have an assigned, room, but you have the ability to roam and wander around. And instead of it being this place where you commingle, and this being a place where you perhaps feast the glory of Valhalla, instead you just are kind of in this brick building, almost like 1408, where you sort of live in a room. And you do have the ability to walk around, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it takes you anywhere. Probably is a light novel similar to my idea. I would think so. I cannot possibly be the only person that is looking at this through the terms of perhaps an existential crisis, or wanting to look at the concept of an afterlife as something that we ourselves manifest. The brain does stay active and alert a couple of seconds, or really actually closer to a minute after death. It doesn't immediately shut down. Like for example, if you're in a coma, you're being survived by brain activity. And again, who's to say that what people see is not exactly what they see? You know, they see the bright light, they see, you know, important figures in their lives, especially religious ones. They have had a lot of exposure to those religious figures. They have had a lot of exposure to hearing that a bright light is coming. You know, who's to say that the reason why these are the things that we imagine whenever death is near is not simply based off of what we have been conditioned to expect? But personally speaking, I think that whether or not there is an afterlife, the one thing that we need to recall is that what we do on this plane matters. What we do while we're on this planet matters of the greatest significance. So if part of your religious doctrine to get into heaven is to be an absolute douchebag to somebody else, personally speaking, I kind of hope that if you do approach your figure of judgments, they judge you harshly. Hi, Wobbin. How you doing? Hey, you got tons of studies for tomorrow? Go for it, dude. I'm about to get a couple of crackers and some cheese because I'm a hungry motherfucker. I'm even going to get a plate. I'm going full out on this because the last time, whenever I had that cheese and those crackers and shit, they went everywhere. That was embarrassing. I hope y'all can still hear me. I'm sure you can. I'm not that far away. You're probably going to hear stuff go crashy and shit. Can you hear me now? Good. Can you hear me now? Good. Are you pooping? Why would you be pooping? Why would you be pooping? I do not know. Yay, cheese and crackers. Oh, well, but it's been. That's all I can really say about it. It's not been great. It's going a little bit better this afternoon. Things have taken a bit of a turn for the positive, which I'm glad for. I've been in desperate need for, or of, should I say. Never underestimate the power of string cheese, or in this case, squeezy cheese. Uh-oh. I have a feeling some of the gatos are starting to catch a scent of it. Yeah, I am hoping for the positive stuff to continue, Wob, and I appreciate it, dude. So I think if I didn't, I'd be in real trouble. Can't have cheese. Really, it's not the best thing for me either. You two girls like, oh, you did? Oh, that's awesome, Paradise. That's awesome, Mick. That sounds pretty good. That's what you're hoping for, right? Nah, I've got a Christmas right here with me. Wow! 15 eggs each. God damn, dude. The next generation is looking set. Now, how long does that take? How long does it take for them to reach adulthood, where they could potentially be, sold to another owner, or could be how productive, for your business? Like, what's the turnover rate like on that? I hate sort of like giving it that sort of perspective, but I do know that that's, part of your business. Sell them after 10 feeds. Okay. Okay, so that's actually... Is that a quicker turnover? Like, how often do they have to be fed? Is that like a once a day thing, or is that like once a week? I'm very unfamiliar, so I'm very ignorant. I apologize for being ignorant toward that, but it's very interesting. And I haven't talked with my local snake friend in quite some time, unfortunately. Weekly. Okay. So like 10 weeks. That's not bad. 2.5 months roughly. Oh wow. Just in time for the new year. Oh, one-eyed snake. The one-eyed snake doesn't feed. The one-eyed snake needs to release. Usually, if it doesn't happen daily, it starts to get upset. Oh wait, hitting us with that freaking finale. He's hitting us with that finale from David the Gnome. I don't know if you've ever seen the last episode of the show. The World of David the Gnome was a cartoon that I believe was, I want to say it was Spanish, or like Mexican, or was from. I don't remember exactly where it was originated from. But it was on TV over here in oh god, it was like the late 80s, the first part of the 90s. It was actually kind of a shock to the system because it was a cartoon from that era that dealt with death, and it was not the death of like an auxiliary character. It was the death of the two main characters. Like, it literally left no chance for there to be any sort of like sequel or anything more to the mythos unless they went backwards. But in that finale, David and his wife Lisa had to go to a place where it was basically an empty part of the forest, say goodbye to all of their friends, all of their animal accompaniers or animal pals, and went there to pass away because they had reached, I think, the age of like 400 or 300 or something like that. And whenever they did finally make it to that spot, and the time of their 300 or 400th birthday hit, they passed away and turned into trees. They turned into trees. The current track that we are listening to is the final song off of Black Future by Vektor, which is Accelerating Universe. Evil Toad could potentially have this on his 200-hour epics playlist, as this track is it's a long one. It's about 14 minutes in length. That's okay. I guess a lot of kids over here, missed it too. Whenever it was airing, it aired primarily in the latter part of the 1980s, and that was when the television station here in America, Nickelodeon, was still really getting its footing. Really, at that point, the only real hits that it had going for it was a show called You Can't Do That on Television, which is a variety show that involved kids. And in fact, Nickelodeon wasn't commissioning their own cartoon series as of yet. They hadn't started Nicktoons. That didn't happen until the first part of the 90s, like 91 or 92 is whenever they launched those with Doug, Ren and Stimpy, and the Rugrats. So a lot of what they were doing was they were commissioning other shows and bringing them to America to put them on the network. So they had like David the Gnome, the Noozles, Maya the Bee, and a lot of others that I don't remember. Muppet Babies was another one that they had, and I remember watching that a lot whenever I was very, very young. I was a big Muppet Babies fan. Well, the funny thing is that the way in which Nickelodeon rose and sort of like fell happened very quickly. You know, Nicktoons honestly was what gave them their foothold in the market. And originally, the Rugrats were their cash cow, and the Rugrats were the show that kind of pushed them into pop culture. It wasn't Doug, it wasn't Ren and Stimpy, it wasn't Rocko's Modern Life, it wasn't the Angry Beavers, it was Rugrats. You know, because those were the characters that got the movies. You know, they were seen as cultural icons. If you talked with people, whenever you were in school or whatever, they knew what you were talking about. They've seen the episodes. You know, the reason why you get so much of this like nostalgia that involves a couple of scenes from Rugrats is that everybody knows them. You know, everybody knows them. But I remember whenever they were promoting the premiere of SpongeBob, I'm thinking to myself, that sounds stupid. They're really that out of ideas that they're making an entire show about a sponge. Then I watched it and absolutely loved it. And the big thing is, who knew that 21 years later we would still be talking about this sponge, and it would still be on the air. And there's still new episodes being produced. There's spin-offs being produced. The show is still alive, but yet the creator is dead. SpongeBob literally outlived his creator. Anyway. Scooby-Doo? I watched a ton of Scooby-Doo whenever I was a little kid, dude. I loved it. These days I can't really rock it that much. They did that shit with like the WWE. Some of that new animation I just can't get behind. Hey Svet, how are you? How's everything going with you, hon? They are a little bit better, but things are doing a little better. Still not perfect, but you know, nothing's ever perfect. Let's be honest. I just got to eat some cheese and crackers. That kind of owned. It's pretty much the only thing I've eaten all day. Oh, I can get my other protein shake if I really wanted to. I think Game Coral's gonna suck. I'm not even gonna watch it. I'm not watching that piece of shit. I am gonna take a leak though. I'll be right back. What are you doing, bud? Here's why I won't watch Camp Coral. Unless it happens by horrible mistake. Because it's not what Steven would have wanted. He didn't want sequels or spin-offs or things like that. In fact, he always seemed like he was trying to get away from having it become an oversaturated mess. Hey, comment B-hole. Cheers, Ben. Thank you. And this wasn't a decision that was made with his blessing. This was a decision that was made in a corporate office when Steven couldn't even come in and defend why it shouldn't happen. So, yeah. It's kind of hard to have any sort of respect for what they're doing whenever you have all the evidence in front of you that says, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this. This is kind of a bad idea. And plus, it also shows Nickelodeon as a network that feels they're completely devoid of having the ability to make a hit. Thanks, Meatman. I'll get to read that eventually. Have to take the walk of shame again just to take a look at it. We'll get there. Definitely want to get Outer Isolation up and running. Then I will take a little break. I'll let that phone charge up a little bit. I'll announce the there you go, because I know what there you go means whenever it comes to a meat month. We'll announce that whenever I get back from my break. You're such a snack. Yeah, but here's the thing, Spat. A lot of people want you as just a snack. You need yourself a man that's going to eat you like a whole ass meal. You know? Why do I want a piece of everybody? You know? You know, why do I want people that I can't have? Do I watch much South Park? I've seen probably the first, 15 seasons. I want to say, all the way through. I've been trying intermittently to, catch up with some of the most recent stuff. The last episode that I saw, Brad, was, the episode that had Stan in the death metal band that was using Dying Fetus. They used the Dying Fetus song in that episode. That's the last one I saw. And I did see their response to the stuff happening over in China and all that. But I haven't seen any episodes since then. I've honestly, what I just did the other day, in fact I started it 2 nights ago, was I used to watch The Mentalist on CBS. And I hadn't watched that show in probably about, I'm going to say it's going on 8 years or so. It's been a long time since I watched an episode of The Mentalist. So I just restarted the series on Saturday night, and quickly sort of realized why I love the show, and it's just such an easy show to pick up and watch. I'm already about halfway through the first season. I don't do a lot of TV watching. I do mostly, watch stuff that's streaming and stuff. So this is it's kind of like a little out of character for me to do that. But again, on Saturday it felt like it was best for me to distract myself in some ways, and that was a really good way to do so, and it ended up working out. very nicely. So there you go. Would I go on a date with Nicholas Kaforth? He literally wanted me to give him my address so he could come to your house. Would I? I think I might. You know why? Because why the fuck not? Date can be anything. Date could be anything. Dude could want to go to a baseball game. Dude could want to take me out to a nice, hey man, let me tell you this way, if he's planning on pampering me all night, hell yeah, let's do it. If he's planning on pampering me like I'm a saucy toddy, then hell yeah, let's do this. If he's expecting me to do all the work, he's gonna get a piece of my mind. It depends on what I mean by pampering. There's a lot of distinction that needs to be made there. If he plans on, like, you know, complimenting me, you know, buying my popcorn, you know, making me feel nice and comfy and cozy, you know, that's all good. But if he plans on, like, eating my ass, then brother better be eating it like a bag of Cheerios as opposed to just, you know, kind of not going real deep with it. You know, y'all best go all the way. I don't know. Svet, it's an interesting sounding opportunity. It's kind of a little odd, but why not? You know, oh, he's disgusting? Well, if he's disgusting, then no. No. House is my favorite show of all time. If I might be so honest, House is the one show on television in my repertoire that can both be exactly what I need and exactly what I don't need whenever I'm depressed. Some episodes of that show, it can immediately cure me out of a funk. There are other episodes where I would not be able to watch it because it would either make the funk worse or make and create a funk. Simply because there's a lot of personality that I, at one point, shared with the character of Greg House, aside from the, you know, brilliant doctor part. But the misanthropy, the real hatred toward a lot of mankind, the desire to do what's right despite the fact that people are idiots, knowing that everybody lies, and some of the innermost character flaws of that character are all things that felt almost too real. See you later, Svet. So, yeah. So we're getting into Outer Isolation by Vektor next. This is the shortest of the 3 albums. Are you still using Google? I have something to show you. It's a computer on a tree. Isn't that amazing? I have never seen a computer on a tree before. It has literally blown my mind and my ass. My ass is now agape. Anyway. 52 minutes here out of for this album here. As a series, House is very similar to a lot of other shows that are out there, where they have their true heyday, you know, the spots where I would say they were really on their game, and they also have their more moments, you know. Like, considering I've watched through that series dozens of times, there are certain episodes that I know that I want to either pass or like I have to sort of force myself to watch. There are certain characters that I really disliked, but they were all meant to be sort of like antagonists, so that means that they did a good job. So as I've gotten older, I've grown to have an even deeper respect for those characters, despite the fact that they just make me mad. I find that the best episodes of House are not the ones where he has a direct, like, overarching antagonist that is, you know, there to make his life hell or there to cause him a lot of emotional anguish. So, like, as an example, in season 1, there was Vogler, who was the generous benefactor for the hospital that wanted House to basically become a corporate numcheese. And so that was okay to watch for a while, but it was something where after some time that interaction got old and they had to get rid of him. You know, House had to win out. It was only the first season. Second season was a little bit different because you saw a guy who wanted his ex back, you know, and then whenever he was finally about to get everything that he wanted, had the moral dilemma and realized that things wouldn't change as much, and probably idiotically in that case. You know, we saw a very vulnerable character that felt incredibly real, and very that was very moving. And felt, like I said, incredibly real. Trigger in season 3, you know, I wanted to know more about that character. I wanted Trigger to come back in a future season, honestly. And then they sort of, you know, went away from stuff like that. You know, they had the PI, they had Lucas, you know, who eventually dated Cuddy for a bit, and then they had the whole situation where they became Huddy, where it was House and Cuddy. People getting married, people getting divorced, people dying. Things kind of went off the rails. He had to hire a brand new team in season 4, only to have one of the people that was going for it and vying for it ending up with Wilson, and then ending up dying because she went to help House. You know, the character ultimately feels like somebody that not only, you know, it's supposed to appear like he doesn't care and just takes advantage and, you know, wants people to, you know, do his bidding, I guess. But by the very final episode of season 8, which I feel is easily the worst season of House, things had gotten way too far off the rails at that point, but the finale of the show was everything I sort of expected it would be and more. It was everything I expected it would be and more. So I knew that was an episode where the only way for that to reach an appropriate finale is for it to be 100% almost dedicated to House's mind, his hallucinations, and that side, which was something that they, you know, promoted and did a lot. Usually the best episodes of House are the ones where he has a hallucination or an out-of-body experience, where you see sort of the inner machinations of his brain and how they are slowly but surely destroying him from the inside out. That, I think, is whenever the writing is the best. That is the writing that feels the most real. And for myself personally, being a incredible, you know, massive overthinker that was also an only child, also had a large imagination, also did some drugs in the past, feel it, you know? Sort of been there a little bit. You know, I understand the idea of being literally trapped inside your own head. So that was, it was almost like justification that, hey, this is a real thing. And that is my dissertation on House. That's the Reader's Digest version. I could talk about that show for probably a whole entire stream with ease. So henceforth, I need to sort of get away from it. I need to get away from talking about it because it can definitely spark a long conversation. And I've had the conversation with people before, you know. I will leave you all with one final house fact, and that is that good old Fred Durst actually has a minor role in a 2-part episode of House. Currently, we're listening to Out of Isolation by Vektor, the entire album. We just started this disc a little bit ago, about 7 minutes ago. We're at Cosmic Cortex. It starts it off. This is an 8-track album, nearly 52 minutes in length. After this, we will get into Echoless Chamber, which hopefully will not be interrupted by any sort of echo in the stream. Alright, Thrash Maniac. Imagine if Rufflin called me out directly about Do or Die. I mean, hey, it's okay if he did, you know. I doubt that that's real. I doubt that that's true, but you know, if he did, then I would still stand by the message that I gave him in return. That I think the dude needs a little bit of help. You know, he needs some folks to talk to. You know, it feels like and seems like he's really overthinking things. I think he really overthinking things these last couple of years and letting a lot of things affect him. And as a guy who just did that for a week, you know, without really, you know, I know that it's something that can happen without warning and without any sort of control. You know, you can be very out of control, and it can be something that lasts, you know, until you get the closure that you needed for whatever that is, or it could be something that's not at all caused by something where you can, you know, get closure for it. It could stay with you for a long time. You know, you could be trapped within your own mind for a long time. You know, like metal music, it sucks. Yeah, it's alright. It's an okay genre. You know what music is great? The music that they use for tap recitals. And also the music that they play in Denny's. But nothing beats the music that you hear whenever you go to a skin doctor. I'm telling you what. You just forget all about the fact that you're going to have some person, some weirdo, looking at your skin like, yes, interesting. That is indeed skin. Your skin, it is very skinny. I can't believe that. That's some prime skin right there you got. Man. Let me see your other arm. Holy crap, more skin. Oh. Let me tell you something, sir. You're a lucky man. You have yourself a lot of skin. And man, oh man, as a skin doctor, since you have a lot of skin, am I the expert for you? Anyhow, I'm going to take a short little break while you guys enjoy the final moments of Cosmic Cortex by Vektor going into Echoless Chamber. I'm totally leaving, that way we don't have an echo during Echoless Chamber. You know. So I'll see you guys momentarily. I'm going to stretch my legs. I may have to get another bottle of water. Oh, never mind. I'll just be right back. Oh, that's right, we have to get the meat lunch donation whenever I get back to. We will do so. That's okay. Walk of shame. Walk of Shame completed. I'll accept 50%. I think that's good enough to last the remainder of the stream, don't you? I certainly do. I have a pair of donations to read as we return. So let's go ahead and do that. My thanks in advance to the two who popped these over on PayPal side. $2 first of all from Justin Neely, our leader, our overlord. He says, "Hey Mark, are you feeling better today?" I am. Thank you for asking. I had to call in. I had to call in today. I drank too much Saturday night. Should have stayed away from the whiskey. I couldn't hardly get out of bed yesterday. Last night was pretty bad. I'm feeling better now. I should be back to normal tomorrow. I'm going to be here for the whole stream. But some of my favorite guitar tones, I like the heavy down-tuned tones, kind of like what you hear in stoner and sludge metal bands. You hear it in some new metal bands too. Thanks for streaming and talking with us. I really appreciate it. Tones I really appreciate are good ones. No, I'm kidding. I really like tones that are ripe with a lot of emotion and has a lot of real sort of power behind it. Like whenever music is able to drive itself solely on the instrumentation itself, just by itself. Vocalists are amazing. You know, that's the only thing that I'd ever be able to do. But whenever a band is able to carry themselves simply with their simply with their music, simply with their composition, that is awesome. You know, that is what makes great songs into legendary songs. Like a great example I'll give you is Model of the Wells Tone is one that I find is really unique, and they are able to create real emotion or real like discord, dissonance, havoc. A lot of times it feels like in their music the tone of what is being felt is driven by the way in which they articulate their music. For example, I'll actually give you a counter example also. The vocals in Birth Pains of Astral Projection, especially the cleans at the end, are something that I hold very close and very near and dear. It was like one of the first songs of theirs. In fact, I think it was the first song of theirs that I was truly obsessed with. And that's one where the vocals interwoven with the softness of that saxophone that you hear at the beginning of the song, sort of the contrast between the death metal styles going into those cleans. I think that's just really, really powerful stuff. And then you have a stark contrast with a track like Flight of River Systems from My Fruit Psychobells, where the vocals are very poetic and they're very softly delivered, but yet the guitar solo at the end really seems to drive that emotional point home and just makes for a song that feels very different than everything else that you just heard on that album. So when a band is able to do that, it really doesn't matter what style it is. It really doesn't matter what style it is. I was a big fan of thrash metal for a long time, so a lot of times if a band was able to put a great aggressive riff together and feel like it was really driving me to throw my horns up, that was all it took. Death metal and extreme metal also. Whenever I was a lot younger, as I've grown, I've become a lot more of a fan of very powerfully driven instrumentalization. We have $15 from Meatman, who simply says, "Get some delivery or something." Thank you. I was thinking about maybe just being boring and getting a pizza or something like that. Not only in honor of the fact that I love pizza, but it also somebody who, like, I'm on Instagram and I don't really utilize it all that much, but I do look at people's stories and stuff like that. And one in particular was just making me smile last night, so I just happened to pop a message over their way. And pretty much their whole entire profile, one of their biggest and most favorite things is pizza. So it sort of has just gotten me thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? Mario drops $10, wants to hear some Ambrian Dawn with United, and then Leonard Cohen with Happens to the Heart. Two very heartfelt and really lovely songs. Thank you very much. Like I said, we will probably get to that. It'll be in time, considering we are in Vektor, Hector, Dector, Lector, Dodecahedron-a-thon, thong. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. Very much have a very rich feel of what is happening, and what I've been feeling quite a bit. Because, whenever you feel something deeply, it puts a smile on your face, and it also puts a worried look or even a tear in your eye. You're very much affected by what happens and care very deeply about how someone's life goes, and you want the best for them. You want what's best for them universally. Sometimes even to the point of personal sacrifice. It's a hard thing to do. It's not something that you're necessarily very happy about. It's never always, the one thing you have to understand is that things are not always just about you. Whenever it involves a friend, whenever it involves someone that you love, whenever it involves family, really, whenever you add somebody else into the equation, universally, even if it's just a coworker, you have to understand that it's not always about you. It's something that needs to be 50-50. And oftentimes we find out in life that is not true at all. Especially if you've ever been in the situation where you've been either in a group for a group project, whether it's been at work or at school, college, high school, whatever. And you have there's that one student that's doing most, if not all of it. It's you always have that one student that seems to be doing, taking the most initiative and wants to be sort of like the leader, and as a result, they're like the most into the project. They do the most for it. Either that, or they just have the most sort of dedication, and it matters the most to them. Either that, or they're the only one that seems to be in the group that maybe people join that group because they knew that person would be a window to a potentially good grade. Cohen's song is kind of has that goodbye feeling to it. Yeah, I'm really not. The one thing I'm definitely not feeling is anything that has strong goodbye vibes, because I don't want to say goodbye to the person that I've been thinking about, obviously. But again, very prominent considering our conversation this morning was very lengthy, and again, whenever it ended, it was sort of forced into that for reasons that I'm unsure of, but I think I have an idea. I'm not going to mention them. It was a very hard departure. It was a very, very hard parting. So, again, two very lovely selections, though, Maru. Thank you very much, and thank you for the 10. Thanks to Meatmun for the 15. Thanks to Justin for the 2. Thanks to both Brad and to Waterblanc for tossing in for a couple of tracks. Our queue it does have a presence. We're up to track 5 here on Outer Isolation. This is Venus Project. So we will have 4 tracks. This is the second half of the album. And then we will get into Terminal Redux and finish that up. I have a feeling that we will probably get to all of the Vektor Thon Alana Con Alana Babadon Ding Dong, and that may be it for us this evening. And then we will reconvene once again here in a couple of days, probably on Wednesday, where we will get to the tracks that have been added to the queue today, as well as probably the ILO album that was requested by Evil Toad, as well as his final 17 minutes. There's another request that was submitted by Meatmun on Saturday that we will get to there as well. So we definitely have plenty that we can go through and listen to within our next stream. Maru, you're absolutely right with that, and I didn't even think of that. I did not think of that whatsoever. You're dead on. You're dead on. the harm that I thought I caused was not harm whatsoever. Which again, it was more so trying to convince myself, convince my brain that was the case, because I didn't know for sure. I needed a little bit of closure to understand that. Things ended up going a little bit better than I really expected, and I think right now, if she heard my voice by comparison to how it was this morning, it would seem like night and day. And again, this is what hearing from her does to me, man. Ma'am, should I say. It's very special whenever you have people in your life that change your tone instantaneously. And if there's one thing that I have learned from this experience, is that hers is probably the one that does and has the greatest effect upon that. But I also have a couple of other fantastic friends that have reached out both through social media as well as through a couple of phone calls that care very deeply for me, and that's super appreciated. And whenever you are there for a lot of people, or even if you're just somewhat trying to help them feel a little bit less burdened by the world, you sometimes wonder whether or not those things are appreciated, because it's not something that is outwardly stated all the time, and it sort of shouldn't have to be. You don't and shouldn't want to do things simply for somebody to say, "Oh man, I appreciate that. Oh man, like." You shouldn't do it purely for the recognition. That is the mark of an individual that is truly only doing things for selfish means or for personal gain, and that is not the way to go about stuff like that. But admittedly, sometimes you do wonder whether or not your presence, or whether or not your words, your thoughts, your friendship, or anything like that is appreciated, or whether it is something that the other person even cares about, or if it's just something where having you around to offer them great advice or just talk with them is just simply like a means to an end, or they're more so reliant on you than you can be reliant on them, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's the thing, the guilt that I was feeling before, I no longer feel. I don't. Principally because the primary situation why I felt guilty or felt bad, felt like I had done harm, didn't come to pass that happened at all. Everything ended up all right there. She was not in trouble as was previously thought. I think it surprised her as well. And then everything else that gave any sort of feeling was met with appreciation and care. So whenever somebody who you are essentially pouring your heart out to tells you that you're their best friend and that they care for you deeply, that they think that you are the greatest of people, a wonderful person and amazing, these are all adjectives that you do hear people sort of thrust around a little bit lightly these days. They will utilize those for just about everything, so it can seem maybe sometimes to be a little bit unjustified or just something that people say. But we all have people in our lives where we know that whenever that's said to you, they mean it, and that's exactly the case in this situation. So even if I can't totally believe it, because that's just sort of how I've been conditioned through years of sort of being misused or mistreated or taken for granted, in the back of my mind I knew that she meant every single word of it. So that's terrific. So thanks once again, like I said, to everybody. I do want all of you to know that you are appreciated. You're appreciated all very fiercely. There's one thing I have genuine pride for, is this community. This is a great community of fans that have transformed into family. You guys are like we're like a family here, and that's awesome. It's a great feeling. Super cool. You know, I want all of you guys to thrive in life and do your best, and just be happy. Happiness is such a hard thing to really achieve these days. It seems like we so oftentimes we see people that appear to be happy just with such ease, but even they, sort of in the darkened room behind the window, they don't show that negative side, or that side that's hurting a lot, maybe as publicly. We're all going through stuff these days. We all have concerns. We all have fears. We all have problems. Even the people that appear to be the happiest are probably some of the folks that have some of the biggest and darkest secrets that are weighing down their conscience and weighing down their soul. So, despite the fact that it seems like everybody is happy except for you, because believe me, I've been there. Not so much this time around. I learned a lot during this past week, and learned that a lot of people that are my friends, a lot of people that I'm very close to, they've been going through some major league shit, and I had no idea. I had no clue. And as many times as I could say that I wish that you reached out, I can understand why some folks don't feel comfortable doing that, or don't want to do that. There are very few people in this world that I would do what I did for Lettuce Death, especially whenever it comes to the extent. However, I would want to at least do my share for others in order to try to bring a little bit of, happiness to their lives, even if it's during the darkest of moments. OA, if it would have ended up being with Faith, I really don't think that would have been something we survived. If I'm being honest, it's a very different. They're very different people, and the way in which things went down would have created very different results. Howdy. Speak of the devil. You're at home. How you doing? What is that?
You said speak of the devil, and I said what?
Oh yeah. No, just quick little mention. Y'all can't see him right now. I showed him a little early on stream. Today is Pippin's adoption day. Today was the day, back in 2015, that Pippin came to live with us officially. And I knew that because I saw your status.
Oh.
Brooke Nicole 91, how you doing? Welcome. Yours is a name that I am unfamiliar with. Is this your first time here? If it's not, I apologize. And welcome. CKN for life. Hey, thank you very much. We are CKN Club life. One thing I do want to say to all of you is that the inclusion of the CKN coverkillernation retirement tour up in the upper left-hand screen could potentially mean something whenever it comes to streams of the upcoming future. There's one thing we didn't have in October. We didn't have any sort of gimmick. We didn't have any sort of exciting thing that we were doing. Nothing that we were working toward. No content that we were attempting to unlock or anything like that. November may be a different story. I would like to have something interesting that we do. What happened? I did smell something out there in the hallway, but I'm not sure where it would be or if there is truly anything. So, I'm looking at hopefully getting something together now that I'm in a little bit better shape to actually look into that. We'll also be in the process of moving this month, so that's going to be very interesting. So there's going to be a lot going on in November, just way more than really will meet the eye. So I'm hoping that we will, whenever we do have the opportunity to stream, which we will, don't worry, we will, that we will have a couple of goals in mind while we are doing so. It may not necessarily be content that we're going after, considering we are getting near the end of the content portion of coverkillernation, the retirement of album reviews and videos. But for those that perhaps are unaware, we will be continuing to stream in the future. Crackle, crackle, crickle, crackle, crickle, crackle, crickle, crackle, yum, 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 yum. Been looking for a few years, new to the stream. Hey, well, welcome. These streams are an experience. If you're expecting just to talk about music, that ain't us. We talk about music a good bit, but we talk a lot about life. We talk a lot about really just about anything that you want to. The only thing I really don't talk much about is politics. That used to not be the case. A couple of years ago, I was definitely a little bit more, willing to do that. But 2016 kind of broke me a bit in that regard. You're moving to Pittsburgh next month. Holy crap! That's relatively close to where I'm from. Congratulations. Welcome, soon-to-be member of Steeler Nation. If you're not currently a Steeler fan, you eventually will be. We kind of get you like, STDs. Just arrived to Baltimore from Oakland, California. Oakland, CA, man, moving all the way across the country. Why have you decided to abandon sunny California, not quite, but close to SCU, to come to Southwest Pennsylvania? But why does Trump's hair look so good? Because it's a wig, dude. Because it's a wig, dude. I mean, I'm going to tell you straight up. If I keep on balding, I might have to look into a toupee myself. I might have to look into a little toupee. That's gangsta. That's street for toupee. Yeah, Cali is also on fire. It's very true. Situation out there is pretty dire. I know that's not only just been restricted to the fire-prone areas. I know that's a large problem. It's every time it seems like it's worse than it was before, and it seems like this is even worse than all of that. Just go full skinhead. I don't know. I don't think I'd look very good as a cue ball. I think I'd have to offset that by getting a really, really groovy looking beard. And I could grow a beard, but after about 2 weeks of not shaving, it itches so much that I just get so irritated, I just shave it off. I just get so pissed about it. So I'm just standing, I'm just like this, and I'm just like, ugh, and I'm miserable, I hate it, I'm just like, ugh. But if I was a cue ball, I'd probably have to keep that there. That way I don't look like a gigantic uncircumcised dick with, craters from scratching chickenpox whenever I was 5 and little markings from my glasses, the sides of my glasses, and extra skin thanks to eczema. Ugh. If I have a meal ticket, my face sure ain't it. That's a big old no. No to the toupee. Depending on the new Visions of Disfigurement EP, I have actually not heard it. If I'm being honest, in fact, this would be my first knowledge of said band. I know that probably sounds like nearly criminal, but it is simply the truth. So you may in fact be able to bring some knowledge and drop some knowledge bombs on all of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the title track of Outer Isolation by Vektor. With the completion of this song, we will have gotten through 2/3 of this band's discography, which was so generously backed by Meatmun, who is in chat, about a month ago, during the bid war that concluded with a flurry to start the month of October. That was back when times were good. Then the sickness hit. Like half of chat got sick. I got sick. Wow, it was so much promise to this month of October. So much promise, but yet swallowed whole so much by illness and other things, you know? But a couple of the cool rules that we have in chat, mostly on my end, is that if you do decide to reach into your pocket and donate, you do have the option to have a song played in chat, or should I say in stream, not in chat. That'd be awkward, weird, and hard. What are you going to do? Just drop the tab in there. $1 per minute. So if your song that you want to request is 4 minutes and 20 seconds, for example, you know, $4 is usually good, you know. Kind of do it just like regular numbers. If it's 5 or more, round up, you know, half or more, round up. So 30 seconds or greater, then go up to the next dollar figure. Truthfully, I agree. This year has been abysmal. It has been a bad year. I've been sick twice, which is already 1 time more than average, which is a bummer. Of course, had everything go on with Cornell, with one of my cats, with his birth defect and surgery, but he is now thriving, doing wonderfully, and huge. Look at this fucking cat. Look how big that sucker is. He is just barely a year old. Like, he is a year and he is a year and 2 months old, screaming toward being a year and 3 months old. He's massive. He is the most loving cat in the world. He is, the best way I can describe Cornell is that he is aggressively lovely, which means that he wants all the cuddles and all the attention and wants to be your buddy, wants to be around you all the time. However, he's a big boy that hasn't quite grown into his body yet to know his own strength. So he'll get you with his claws, he'll step all over you with no real regard. You know, if he wants you, he wants you. And you know what? After you get over the initial shock of, you know, having 5 little dagger knives, you know, shoot into your skin for a brief second, and cleverly leave no marks, he is one of those types of abusers. Never leaves any marks. Oh God, you just never want him to leave your side. It's great. But then also a lot of problems with the place here that houses what is effectually Studio 3.0, which we will probably see a Studio 4.0 prior to the dissolution of the channel and the stoppage of album reviews and videos. We'll see that set up, and that'll probably make its way into videos. That will be the new stream room, stream setup and all that. So, yeah. Meet when you have chronic sinusitis. I am becoming very fearful that I am potentially getting a little taste of that, considering what I had back in the summertime, late June, was very much sinus related and was awful. It was atrocious. And here we are, you know, ever since the start of fall, or actually a little bit before, after, when did fall began? That was late September. Oh, then yeah, literally, it was like right after fall began, I started to get sick once again. And during this whole cycle, I have had some intense sinus pressure. This has been like a month. Like, I felt like I've had something in the back of my throat for a month. That just isn't going away. And I guess you can get like throat crystals or something. I don't know. Weird shit that I've been looking up. So who knows? So no more YouTube content for good. After the end of this year, whenever we do end of the year lists, that's correct. I will probably pop in and shoot a couple of random videos to say hi, let you know how things are going. But you will still be able to follow and be a part of some content in the form of streams, because we will be streaming some in 2020 and beyond. Only it will no longer be done in sort of like an official capacity, and it will not be done as like a primary vocation. Everybody has super big cats. Yeah, we have a couple of those too. Here's looking at you, Nemo, who's not actually all that big. He is just super duper fur mountain. Like, that is the best way. Like, whenever I was showing Lettuce Death a picture, whenever I was out there, that was how I described him. Because he literally, in fact, I'll pull up this picture. He is literally, in this photo, a fur mountain. Like, that is the best way and the only way that you can describe this. It's absurd. Where is fur mountain photo? Where are you? I actually don't know where it's at. What the hell? Oh, there it is. Literal fur mountain, as you can see. Like, he just looks like he is a mountain that is rising up from that monster box that he loves so very much. You want to be an undead ballerina? For Halloween this year, I'm going as the scariest thing of all, myself. My opinion on the Rob Zombie movie trilogy. You're talking like the House of a Thousand Corpses, that whole cycle? It's alright. Not must-watches. I wouldn't exactly call it a classic. But, I think it inadvertently did some things for the genre that I think horror fans initially really loved, but now has become very, it's become too mainstream or too expected, become too regulated, like too regular. Oh dude, meet when I had my first ear infection in probably like close to 30 years this past summer, and it was torturous. It was torturous. Where are my Halloween decorations? I don't know. At the store. Unbought. I used to work at a store that sold Halloween costumes. I worked at Spencer Gifts, if you're aware of that chain. They are very... they're affiliated with the Spirit stores, the Spirit Halloween stores that are in America. And whenever I worked there, one of the biggest aspects of our business was, of course, as you might imagine, Christmas decorations, Halloween decorations and Halloween costumes. The stories I could tell, including allowing people to try on the costumes, even though you really weren't supposed to let them do that. Somebody who is unfortunately no longer with us did that, and then ended up having to return the costume the next day because things went very south with the person who she bought the costume for. She's unfortunately deceased now and has been for a number of years. So here's Terminal Redux by Vektor, the last of our Vektor albums to the last of our 3 Vektor albums that we are going to be listening to. Like I said, we'll probably finish up this album, and then that'll be it for us for the evening, because it is a 73-minute long beast. And also, consequently, was the album of the year in 2016. We start off with Charging the Void and move on from there. We will, in fact, end our journey by recharging this same void about 60 minutes from now. My opinion of alcohol being branded by bands like Metallica and Megadeth. If I'm honest with you, I think that if you have the opportunity to do that as part of your brand, it is a smart thing to do. Because your fans are going to want to give it a sample, I'm sure. A lot of diehards are all about like the Trooper Beer by Iron Maiden and things like that. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to get you as much money as maybe people think. You know, people think, hey, everybody loves alcohol. Not totally true, but you know, there's a healthy majority out there that do drink. But I do not believe that it's going to be as big of a moneymaker as many people believe. But kind of cool. Kind of cool. Oh yeah, the Halloween costume that person tried on that was going to be for her, man. She literally went for the costume that was called Slutty Pirate. Which consequently was the only costume that carried that word as a part of it. You know, pirate. No, slutty. But it was also the most expensive costume that we sold in that store. And I'll just be honest with all y'all. She rocked it. It looked good. You know. There are some costumes that just fit certain body types. That one fit hers. Halloween costume for court should be a prison jumpsuit. Oh dear. That might be taken the wrong way. Judge might look at that and be like, wait, are you on trial or are you guilty? But again, if you have a brand, you know, if you have any sort of brand, like if somebody approached me, in fact somebody had approached me a couple years ago, was thinking about doing watches, and I thought that what that meant was I could brand them somehow, like official coverkillernation watches. You know, I could have my logo in there, or I even thought, how cool would it be if it looked like one of those Mickey Mouse watches, only it was a picture, only it was me, you know, a caricature of me, and instead of the fingers, you know, from the Mickey Mouse watch, you know, pointing at the numbers, it'd be two middle fingers. Okay, middle finger, been great. But I wasn't going. I was apparently not going with a company that was willing to work with me to that level of customization. I think what they more so wanted me to do wasn't sell a watch that was branded for me, but instead just sell their watches. You know what I mean? And I think official merchandise is super duper cool. I mean, if you have a large following, like a really big following that's in the millions, any venture that you could possibly have is potentially a good idea to generate a little bit of extra revenue. And as a result, there's a lot of brands out there that have a lot of different products, so it's very easy to have, very easy to get too much, have too much in your life, or not be able to follow everything or know or remember everything. You know, it's kind of wild, but you know, what can you do? She's looking at Nemo. There's another fly here. Kill it. Destroy it. Murder. Murder. See you later, Roy. I think a big part of why I'm like not as Halloweened out anymore is not so much because I got old and boring, but because I got old and boring. I don't know, it was always one of those things where I enjoyed dressing up whenever I was at the store. I really don't remember doing anything all of that like special or unique. I used to go to the Pittsburgh Zombie Fest. We'd go there every single year. In fact, did that for, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years consecutively. And every single time it was in a different location. So you had to like, navigate the dark souls of cities, which is Pittsburgh, whenever it comes to roadways. You have to avoid the boss fights of one-way streets and gigantic, bus-swallowing potholes.
My favorite was that one year we decided to go like around the city.
Oh yeah.
And there was a tour bus, and they were like, and there's some zombies.
Yeah, that's actually a really good story. We did go to one that was taking place. It was like in a sort of like a common area that was right in the heart of Pittsburgh. So it was almost like a park that was right in the middle of the metropolis part of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so the actual fest itself was not that big, as I recall. Like, it was not a very sizable festival. There were other years where it seemed like the fest itself was a lot larger. Not in this case. So the rub was that if you walked out of the festival and you were just dressed in full zombie garb, you could just walk around Pittsburgh as zombies, which we did. And there was like a bus of some variety, whether it was a tour bus or whatever, that drove past us and was like literally giving a tour of some variety and said, and to your right, you have some zombies. Refresh. If it's all robot filtery and stuff, refresh. I should be... Yeah, I'm not losing any frames. But at any rate, also walking into a record store, which was the Exchange, in full zombie garb, that was always fun. And then after watching matchups by Darby Allin, knowing that he wears his face paint pretty much all the time, like that's not just a kayfabe thing, that's something that he does, just like going to the airport or going to like the grocery store, whatever. It makes me think of how cool it would kind of be if you like sort of like dressed up your tone for the day or like how you're feeling that day by like gimmicking up your face and just walking around that way. Like maybe you use like some clever little trickery in order to indicate whether you're having a good day or a bad day. Kind of like how sometimes you can decode whether or not Fantano is going to give something a good score due to the color of the flannel. Can't do that with me. Can't do that with me. I'll wear the same shit on an album. I give a 30 out of 30 and then a 5 out of 32. You've now become an adult officially. Why? Because you came to my stream? Yeah, it has that effect on you. You come into my stream, your balls drop, all of a sudden you get like college applications. Then you get like a bunch of messages from debt collectors that you don't remember spending any money for. All of a sudden policemen just show up at your house saying that, trying to ask you where you were on April 16th at 7 p.m. What you were wearing and who you were with. And all of a sudden...
Who you were wearing or what you were wearing.
Ouch, my head. And all of a sudden, within a week, you'll have a very large desire to learn about all of the elements of your astrology and wonder what it all means. Instead of merely being a Gemini, you now have to figure out your sun, your moon, your stars, your Mars, your Saturn, I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, joy, desire, your Mercury, your sun, your asteroid belt, Andromeda galaxy. Just walk into a house and all of a sudden determine, yes, this is in an Aquarius moon. You'll soon get a fine taste for overcrafted beers and subtle teas. Yes, literal subtleties.
This tea is very subtle.
You'll wish to move out into the forest and mingle among the trees. then you'll post inspirational quotes that are cut into large barks of wood that all say very folky things or Americana, such as live, laugh, love.
How's that folky or Americana? This is stupid.
It's Americana trailer park. Americana low income shit. Yeah. Score system doesn't make any sense to me. That's what makes it unique. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it so awesome. Think of every 5 as a step. So for example, a 30 out of 30 would be a 6. Like a 6 out of 5, like 6 stars. 25 is 5, 20 is 4, 15 is 3, 10 is 2, 5 is 1, 0 is none. Or if you really want to go about it the other way, anything up to 5 is 0, anything up to 10 is 2 or 1 star, anything up to 15 is 2 stars, anything up to 20 is 3 stars, anything up to 25 is 4, anything up to 30 is your upper echelon of your 5-star albums. That's more so what I was going for with it. So you stray away from astrology signs because apparently my sign is meant to be miserable. Well, are you miserable? Because if you're currently miserable, then maybe you should get into astrology and try to find out why that happened. And also, while you're at it, we should all probably stop giving a crap about that stuff so much, considering it's literally an accident of birth and we can't change it. Am I the only person that wishes that I could invent something else to happen to Mercury? You know? What? Tired of hearing about it going into retrograde. Why is Mercury such a nostalgic planet and it constantly has to go to retrograde? Why can't it just stay with the times and stay with us? You know? Why doesn't it get itself a PS4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare? Wear its hat backwards. Want to play a rousing game of Fortnite with the boys. Really like memes. Understand that Epstein didn't commit suicide. You know, all those fun things. Some people may have told me in the past that I am a Cancer. I'm a Gemini, which actually explains a lot, if we're being real. Me being a Gemini makes perfect sense, actually. Considering very logic, there's 2 sides of me. Instead of it being like good and evil, it's instead the side that is, grounded and logical, and the side that is irrational and stupid and thinks way too much and needs to stop it. I think that Vektor has a chance of ever coming back. The bigger question, Blackwater Rust, will be how loud will the noise be if they do come back and people say, well, you have to love it for the music and forgive. Because right now, just even the announcement of Vektorthon that one week caused me to get some pretty gnarly messages and bold classifications that Vektor are canceled. But again, it was my fault for not specifically clarifying that Vektorthon was happening due to the generous donation of our friend Meatman. Oh yeah, the charts for that stuff it's absolutely incredible. It's like, you remember whenever you were a kid, maybe you were reading a book that was all about the planets and stuff, and perhaps it included like a star map that was trying to teach you basic constellations such as the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, etc. Literally that complex. And at times, whenever you look at them, you sort of feel like you need a decoder ring to understand everything. Either that, or just maybe it's something that's included at the bottom of a cup of pumpkin spice latte. I don't know. I'm taking subtle shots here. I apologize. Oh no, it's not your. Meanwhile, it's not your fault. Period. See, that's the thing. Whenever it comes to the music that you want to have played, you play the stuff that you want to have played, the stuff that you like. There are certain exceptions that I have, but Vektor is not one of them. I will play their music. David's a piece of shit, and that will always be stated, and forever be stated, and will be immortalized in a video later on this year. But whenever it comes to the music itself is sterile. You know, it's neutral. Because none of the music is deliberately offensive or deliberately trying to, destroy, a group or a race or anything like that. And it's just pretty damn good music anyway, you know? It's not like it blew $200 on absolute bollocks, you know what I'm saying? Luke the Puke! How our boss you? How our boss you? Do okay, me. What about liking R. Kelly's music even though he's a terrible person? It really just depends on whether or not you like his music, you know? I like a couple tracks of R. Kelly. You have to understand that that was my generation's worth of, that was my generation's sort of like baby-making music guy. Of course, he was trying to make babies with 14-year-old girls, which is super gross. And he was trying to make some golden showers happen on some other little girls, which is double gross. Makes you really question what a lot of that lyricism was about, right? Like, whenever he was singing Down Low all the way back in the 1990s, was he really talking about a dude and a chick, both that were of, legal age, that were having themselves a romantic encounter, perhaps doing so in the capacity of a little bit of infidelity? Or was that just what he was saying to, the 12-year-old that he just took a leak on? I haven't listened to Mike Oldfield in a long time, but in Prague circles, that boy is loved, especially among the older fans. Mike Oldfield is almost a constant that you see posted about. Tubular Bells. Ignition was your childhood song. If you feel that you can't listen to Ignition anymore by R. Kelly, then don't. Listen to the cover of Ignition by Young the Giant. Not only is it hilarious, it's also very good. Yes, the Boondocks. Oh man, what a show that was. What a show. You see, a lot of times things are in the eye of the beholder, or the ear of the beholder. I feel like in 2019 it's a show that, considering its usage of very racial language, would be seen very differently than whenever it first premiered. And I'm not sure if that's really a reflection of softness or hardness or, the excessiveness of being PC or whatever. That's not for me to judge. That's not for me to try to put my finger on the pulse of. I don't want to. I feel like if I put my finger on that pulse, it's going to come back really crusty and gross. Because there's a lot of people yelling about a lot of stuff, and some of it makes sense to me, a lot of it doesn't. Not because I'm old, not because I'm a boomer. I'm nowhere close to a boomer. Just simply because, if I'm being completely honest, I came from an era, like the last real era, where you just conversed with people. You just talked with them. And a lot of times they say, oh, well, you're just mad because you can't be blatantly, racist or ableist or this or that anymore. We really weren't those things to begin with. that wasn't something that was all that critical to us. You know, like they feel like it was this like little rampant disease. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was around in the 90s that definitely wouldn't get past a lot of censors here in 2019 on television. Really, you can tell by some of the wrestling there. Take a look at some of the things they got away with the Attitude Era, where it looked really, really bad. Being 20 years older and 20 years wiser exposes that, but whenever you're 14, and that was kind of the tone of the decade and kind of just the tone of the world that you lived in, and you didn't exactly see much harm being made from it. Kind of hard to be negative toward it, you know? It seemed really cool. It was adult. Whatever. Oh, South Park is a show where Matt and Trey, I think once they got on their 7 days to air schedule, and then also realized that they could just take things as far as they could. You know, once they were able to mold a lot of current events and a lot of what was happening in the world as they were creating, instead of just trying to make a manufactured, fixated, you know, almost detached universe, that's whenever you really saw their material just become amazing. Whenever they were able to, instead of just taking like little pot shots here and there, whenever they were really just given the freedom to go off on different cultural topics, and they truly pulled no punches. They were willing to go as far as they wanted. They didn't care. You know, they took it as far as they could. I think that's whenever they made some of their most poignant material, trying to consistently remind us that we're trying to act enlightened by, you know, being offended by certain things, or supporting certain things, or being seduced by certain things, having an outcry towards certain things. Great example, you know, as a great example, I had somebody who decided that they no longer wanted to associate with me due to comments that I made about a Christmas sweater. Literal piece of cloth that had words on it. It said obsessive Christmas disorder. And I simply stated, wow, that's really, really dumb. Why are people getting upset about this? Because, you know, that's making fun of people with autism and with mental diseases. It's making fun of OCD. It's not going about that very nice. I can't believe you're that insensitive. Anybody who's insensitive toward that is not a person that I wish to associate with. And you know what? That's fair. I don't hold a grudge. I tell the story because to me it's freaking hilarious. Because remember that person that I told you contacted me to let me know that Ronnie James Dio had passed away? Same person. Same person. But we obviously had a deep connection at one point that was very, very easily severed at that point. Wish me the best. Hey, thank you very much, Luke. Appreciate it, dude. We're about to enter into track number 4, Mountains Above the Sun. Apparently we're getting into ad territory. I don't remember the song starting like that. That's better. Total of 10 tracks on this album, so we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to go. We're already 25 minutes in. It's a long album, folks, not to mention the tracks are not short. You definitely get your money's worth with Terminal Redux, and it's, of course, it's pretty excellent. Getting offended is so offending. Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. What's crazy about a lot of this, folks, is the fact that some of the people that have decided to walk away from, people that they know, people that they once cared about, whatever it might be, friendships or even family, decided to disassociate and push them far away, no longer want to be connected by them. These are people that probably 5 years prior, or, the early part of the decade before all of this became a focused movement, were doing the exact same things that they now were ostracizing. I can tell you that with that same person that told me that Dio died, that was true. Now, I understand that you could easily say, well, I've grown up, I change, people change, you're damn right, you're exactly right, and I recognize the error of my ways. I was not taking other people's thoughts into consideration. I wasn't taking their beliefs into consideration. These are the same people that, by the way, will really talk a lot of shit about religion and politics and stuff like that. They'll throw their weight around opinion-wise. But you happen to have the wrong opinion, the opinion that does not match up with them. These are not people that want somebody that they can have a conversation with. They want somebody who is exactly like them. If that person is not exactly like them, if they disagree on one supposed keynote issue that is actually probably just a flavor of the week that will no longer be in the viewpoints of their brain in 7 days, they are willing to drop them like a bad habit. Drop them like it was actually LSD and they decided to turn to Jesus. Although sometimes I think if you really want to see Jesus, you need the LSD. Haven't tried it myself, just saying it's a theory. But yes, if there is one thing that I am truly pleased with those whom I still have in my small circle of life, is the fact that I know that if we discuss anything, like literally anything, like they're the type of people where you could say, if you're talking on the phone to them, I'm pooping right now, I hope that doesn't bother you, and they'll be like, no, I actually just finished peeing 5 minutes ago, I'm surprised you didn't hear it. Get you some folks like that, because there's a good chance if you bring up the fact that folks that have supposed obsessive Trump disorder or Trump anxiety disorder need to go outside, they're probably going to say to you, yeah, it says right there, they're spending 12 to 18 hours a day worrying about this and posting about it online. They need a little fresh air. They need taken out in the rainstorm. They need water. They're like a plant. They need water. They get your pizza. Oh, lucky man. Good boy. Oh yeah. And that's the thing. Within an actual friendship, there's a good chance that you are not going to meet in the, you're not going to meet in the same direction with each and every single thing. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be something that you're going to feel strongly about that they're going to not feel strongly about or feel strongly against. How you approach that and how you, take care of that, is through a conversation. And eventually you should just determine, hey, this is not something that should be a definition of our friendship, which we've already had for X number of years or months or days or decades. It's probably something where if you just fucked them on, Tuesday night after going to the bar and getting way too wasted on the Kraken, I could understand maybe that being a little something that is defining and causes you to, not want to call them next Tuesday after you decide to go with Vladimir instead of Kraken. Good chance that, Vladimir is going to give you a different result anyway. Something else is going to look beautiful to you, and spoiler alert, it probably won't be. But if it's somebody that you've been friends with for a long time, where you have years, you have years on that friendship, and it's been, something that's been very solid as a rock all of that time, only to have it dissolve over something so very silly without any sort of true discussion being occurring. That's something else. That's something crazy. It's something else entirely. That's quick and easy dissociation. And it's a surefire way to ensure that your life is an evolving door of people as opposed to a lot of folks that are solid like a rock. Yeah, food good. Store-bought sushi. Oh, I had some terrific sushi last week, along with real ramen, made by an authentic Japanese chef. It was amazing. And then I left my leftovers in Ohio, like an idiot. And then we had kind of like a homemade version of that here, and that was really good too. That was just a couple nights ago. Not too sure what we're going to do tonight. Probably just order a pizza or something.
We're just gonna make frozen food.
Oh, that works too.
It wasn't good.
No. That is correct. See you later, Mick. You have yourself a good one. Congratulations on the births. The snake births. But again, if you ever find yourself in a position where you and one of your friends happens to have a disagreement on a topic, if it isn't something that's concrete to, your friendship, if it's just something about, oh, this thing I saw online and reposted, sit down, both of you, and have yourself a little conversation civilly. Civility in that situation is the most important thing. If somebody's coming in there with venom on their lips, if someone's looking to, snake bite you, they're supposedly one of your real good friends, might not be as good of a friend as you think. Oh, hummus is amazing. Oh, absolutely correct. I have absolutely zero objection to that statement. I, in fact, support it. I mean, it's salmon soup. Ooh, that also sounds very good. You're right, this is like food talk always. At least at one point in the stream becomes food talk. Oh, let's see. Oh, Cocaine Jesus. I'm not sure if you were here in September. But oh boy, did we sure listen to Lulu. Every single minute of it. Every single minute of it. Goddamn. That was an experience. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, it was bad, but not as bad as I thought. I thought I would leave that stream very broken. I figured that after that I'd have to actually go to a doctor, get myself checked, update my shots. Maybe consider a rabies vaccine. Although I did get sick a couple of weeks after that, maybe it was something that festered, The disease actually began by listening to that album. Seeds are, those are in California rules. And again, I never was very good at remembering the actual designation of the rules. That's why I always liked restaurants that have menus that tell you all the included ingredients. Either that or just have like a sushi bar that you can go to. But the ones that have the sushi bar, that's fantastic. You just look at it and you're just like, that looks good. And you just put it on your plate. And chances are, just about 9.9 times out of 10 is good. Like, you're accurate. You are correct. I'll tell you what I've always been a big fan of is Chinese restaurants, especially like Asian buffets. Whew. It's not as bad these days because I do get full a little bit more quickly. I think it's because I ate too much as a younger man. Man, I used to be 2 or 3 different platefuls of stuff. I was a freaking fat ass whenever I went to Chinese restaurants back in the day. That was something that one of my friends and I used to do quite often. And another thing that we did was also we went to an actual pizza shop and like actually ate in the pizza shop instead of just taking out. Unfortunately, that pizza shop has now, like, since then, this was like 10 or 12 years ago, it has since moved to like 75 different locations. Pittsburgh have an equivalent to a Philly cheesesteak. Philly cheesesteaks. I guess our Philly cheesesteak would be like pierogies. Pierogies are our thing that we're kind of known for, I guess. I haven't had Mongolian barbecue because there's no place really to do that around here. Because I live on the southern, the southwest portion of PA, so I'm like 60 miles away from Pittsburgh. I'm not even sure if they have a Mongolian barbecue up there. They probably do. But I'd have to travel if I want to. I'd have to travel if I want to eat some Mongolians. I guess if you really want some great Mongolian barbecue, all you have to do is build a great wall, wait for them to show up, and kill them. Then roast them. Oh, listen, Mara. Never damn the idea of sushi. It is always a good idea. It is always a wonderful plan. If I could have sushi more often, I would do so. Thai food is injected with mind-controlling substances. Also, that's why everybody hates you, Alex Jones. It's clearly just the food. That's why I plan to eat more of it. Actually, the Democrats are now filling Nike sneakers with a serum gas that causes random children, school-age children, to all of a sudden become liberals that want to change their gender and dye their hair $15. And all of a sudden, they're actually in schools because of this, because of what those damned liberals are doing there. They're actually sig-heiling to Hillary Clinton. Did you know that? It's an absolutely terrible thing. It's horrible. President Trump, our brave and fearless leader, was booed by just an entire stadium full of liberals, all wearing the same shoes at the Nationals game last night. It was a true travesty for America. What did you just walk into? Me going crazy for like the 75th time. And me also being hungry. Polish people bring the pierogies? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. There is Pittsburgh did have a pretty high, like, Polish and, like, Eastern European population. So I would think that, yeah. And in fact, I would, between the polka, just the overall presence of Polish meals, there's haluki, there's sauerkraut. These are all, hot button phrases that you know around here. You just know it. So that's just the deal. It's just how it works, I suppose. Congratulations. He shouldn't be sad for that. He should be celebrating. He escaped. He escaped. He's done what we all wish to do. Justin Delia did send us another $1 and said that Fantano, the Needle Drop, didn't like the new Tool album very much. has the right to his opinion. His prerogative. Probably got him quite a bit of views. Probably got him a good bit of views, but then again, he gets a good number of views anyway. Speaking of men who, speaking of people that are basically brands, there you go. Heel Drop is a brand these days. He got that, he got those big YouTube numbers. He got that there 6 and 7 digit. I only got the 5 digits. My IQ be smaller. They have giant tissue farms and we don't care. I do so care. I'm glad Kleenex is doing that for me. Especially this time of year. Tissue farms are saving me from having a very runny nose that's filled with nothing but snot and grossness. Making me look ugly. Younger than I already am. Thank you, Kleenex Tissue Farms. Thank you for saving me from looking like a slob. Didn't know Alex was French? You mean you didn't hear the ha ha ha? I actually made my ear pop doing that. That was awesome. Great bit. Great bit. Rock and roll. I accept. Now we just need to make sure that we keep all of the toxic lamb chop recipes away from those high-ranking government officials that want to ensure that all of our schools have bullying policies that they don't actually ever utilize. And we want to arm every single teacher with like an AK-47. Just in case one of those little shits gets out of line. Custodian has to come in, pull out another dead kid. Really? Another one? Yeah, he didn't do his homework. Again. The 5th time this month. I taught him a lesson. The fact that he bled out and died is on his weak ass. The new Blink-182 album is not good. I'm not surprised. If I'm being honest. About a half an hour left already. Man, time does fly whenever you are listening to an album of the year. We're about a minute out from track 8, if you can imagine. We were just talking about track 4. Feeling like that was not even 10 minutes ago. We're about to get into track 8, which is Pillars of Sand. At the 45-minute, 5-second mark, we'll have this track, Collapse, and Recharging the Void remaining. And that is that. Like I was stating, we'll be finishing up this album, and then that will be the end for tonight. We'll probably be returning on Wednesday, everything permitting. Well, we all know that animal-human hybrids exist. After all, Jim Morrison was the Lizard King. And those 5 kids on that television show in the 90s all transformed into like dinosaur robots. I mean, I know they say that they were like Mighty Morphin, park rangers or something like that, but I don't know. I think that's some Japanese shit. I think the Japanese have been sneaking in their technology. That way they can eventually take us over. But before they have the opportunity, China will actually destroy them, and then China will take over. And if you take anything that I just said serious, then you're the problem. Yeah, my favorite, the Mary Morphine power couple. The mighty Morphine power. Just fade off. Too busy playing Danky Kang. Where are you? Where am I so sorry? I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, Mighty Morphin Parks and Recreation. Leslie Knope turns into a giant Parks and Ranger patriot. You're on a DMT trip? Good, and you'll remember none of this in the morning. Just in time for your morning scotch and self-fillet. I think I've just run out of steam whenever it comes to this stream. Now I'm just into absolute, complete, total nonsense. I've run out of things officially to talk about. Oh, how about those Astros? One went away from a World Series again. Or Washington. The president just had to show up, didn't he? Hey, I'm allowed to make that joke because if that would have happened while Obama was in office and they lost the World Series, like they probably would have in that era anyway, they would just say thanks Obama. It would have been called the curse of the Obama. The abominable snowman. Any thoughts on Alkaline Trio? I think they're a band. I think they play music, right? I haven't heard a lot from them, so not really. Talk about, let you think. Oh, it is extremely possible for me to run out of talk. I can go a while without saying a word. Off stream. But whenever you're streaming, you definitely want to keep the excitement level up. You want to entertain. You want to have something that you think that people are going to want to watch and continue watching. How about Psychotic Never-Ending Death Chasm? That is an album by Static Syndrome, which was released in 2018. It's pretty good. Scope it out. It is available on such great platforms such as SoundCloud or YouTube or Spotify. Yes, Spotify. I know that because I use that service now. Did I taste Metallica's whiskey? No, but I did taste Kirk Hammett's wang. It tasted like whiskey. Oh, well then maybe I did taste their whiskey. No, I've never tried. I haven't had any branded alcoholic beverages. I've never tried any of those. Not even the Trooper by Iron Maiden. Hey, you two, back it off. Back up. Mittens, don't think that just because you have the high ground that means that you're safe. You might have the high ground, but he also has the size advantage by doubling you. Not literally like W. Bush, like Nemo is double the size of Mittens. You see why he'd be, confused. Consequently, W is also a Republican's favorite letter of the alphabet, but that's understandable. W is also the most racist letter. Everybody knows that. And show us my metal dance? Oh no, that's a donation unlocked during a marathon. That's the old CKN dance. That's the touch your fingers, touch your nose, kiss my ass and fuck your face. It's the frequency of natural sounds. I'm sorry, I'm a heathen. I don't believe in natural sounds. I only believe in unnatural sounds. I'm one of those terrible people that enjoy the sounds of premarital sex and plots for, government corrosion. Oh, and the ice capades. Something about it, just really fun. You just haven't lived until you've seen a giant Barney the dinosaur on ice skates. Something about that just really, you think you're just going to hate it, but then you realize that the person inside that suit has a lot of talent. And whenever Kermit from the Muppet Babies is doing a triple salchow behind, Barney the dinosaur, and, you're also seeing all the characters from Sesame Street, do some sort of strange incantation in the background. That's whenever you realize that the LSD has truly hit at the wrong period of time. That's whenever you hope that your trip lasts as long as the show. Because for one, you have to drive the family home, but for two, you're also being kind of endlessly entertained. Astros might become the new Yankees. If you're talking about just the idea of the dynasty, I guess it's kind of possible. I don't think that they're going to have sort of the decades of success as the Yankees did, mostly because that's just becoming, like, baseball itself and a lot of sports are becoming very much the elite is the elite and all that, but it's not necessarily a guarantee that they're going to be great from year to year. Ella, what's up? Okay, what's it? We are going to be having shells and cheese. Yes, why? What? Oh crap, that's right! Oh shoot, I forgot about the football game completely. It is at 8 o'clock. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. In that case, I don't know what I'm going to do. That was a total... Well, she's home right now, but she's resting. Must have been a hard day for her. Wow. Totally lost track of time. I've been streaming now for like the past 3 hours. So in that case, I guess I'll just get something over there, maybe. Oh, I'll probably just get something over there, since we did just do pizza yesterday. I might end up just having one of them out of the box, but even still. Or that, we'll see. Well, it's not your choice, it's mine. That's true, yeah. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, back. It's just the Dolphins and the Steelers. It's just the Dolphins and the Steelers. Yeah, but given the way our year's been going, we need one of those games where we watch our boys beat that ass. The Browns once again browned on the field yet again. Yeah, they faced the Patriots. Who basically are being gift-wrapped the Super Bowl. Though San Fran might actually get to fuck that up for them. That'd be kind of funny. It'd actually be kind of funny if they did all that gift wrapping for him and then San Fran was just like, oh yeah, about that. Thanks. Either that or they just get into the playoffs and in the first round they just get beat by like something stupid. Like the way the actual script is supposed to go, the field goal kicker comes out, kicks, game-winning field goal, Patriots win by 1, and then all of a sudden he just shanks the fucker. Or like somebody who didn't read the script just like runs right up the middle and puts a hand directly on the ball, and like, Kevin Mutombo's that shit. The Dolphins are going to win? Dude, whatever you're smoking, I want some. I do. Ain't gonna happen. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I regret to inform you that the Dolphins will not be pulling off that victory. This I will eat my words if it doesn't happen, obviously, but I don't think that I'll be eating my words. But man, I forgot about that game completely. He called me, he was just like, what are you doing about dinner tonight? I'm just like, what? That is a question that literally is never asked of me. What do you see, Corny? We are actually down to the last, well, nearly the last track of Terminal Redux and the last track of our trip through Vektor's discography. Less than 17 minutes remaining. Taking the Browns to the Super Bowl. Nice. Well, hey, you make sure, Dr. Phillips, you tell Chad Kroger all about himself. You make sure to remind him that every single time that you laugh, it is because you are indeed looking at a photograph. Make sure you also go see the Wiggles too. Because if you don't see the Wiggles live, how can you truly call yourself a fan of the Wiggles? All you're a fan of is being a fraud. David Draymond wants to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. No thanks. I mean, yes, I know he did a great job with the Sound of Silence. That's all well and good, but that's okay. I think even within the nu metal registry, we could probably do better. Only football made life worth living. Fair. Makes life worth, sort of living until, your team's behind 17-0 in the second quarter. And you're kind of like, well, I'm back to wanting to die. Didn't even make it through one game without losing. I think by the purpose of this year, that actually makes you the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm being honest. I had the Washington Redskins. The only way you can win a game is if they gift wrap it for you and you actually accept the present. Don't you just say it whenever you gift wrap something for somebody else and they just drop it? They just drop it. They're like, oh, let's get it. Oh, no. Yeah. I actually don't want this. This is kind of gross. It's all sticky. Why is it all sticky? Why is it all sticky? Why is it always so sticky? Oh, there's actually stuff here that I need to remove. Making sure that I get the super chats over here. Well, again, one of the big things that it's fine if somebody is a cool bloke. I'm sure that a lot of people are cool blokes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I wouldn't mind if he sang at the Super Bowl, but not exactly something I'm seeking. Hey. I'm sure for a number of people that'd be a super cool moment. That'd be a super cool moment that they would love and they would treasure forever. It would actually bring in some people to watch the beginning of the Super Bowl, and then they would be able to go and change it over to the Kitten Bowl like they probably should. The Puppy Bowl or the Toilet Bowl. Speaking of the Toilet Bowl, blue and the gray. What track is that? Hold on, I'll be right back. Even the minute that I walked outside, I knew exactly what you were talking about. I don't know why I had the mental block right in front of here. Lyrics were pretty real. Definitely seemed applicable for what's been going on for both of us. Yeah, I knew exactly what you meant. How are you guys feeling? Depressed? You know. I'm all good. We are down to the final 10 minutes. And we are currently recharging the void. The final track of Terminal Redux by Vektor, the 2016 album of the year. Amazing, we started the stream off with a track from the 2017 Album of the Year winner, which is Elder, Reflections of the Forgotten World, or excuse me, the Floating World, Reflections of the Floating World. And we are ending the stream with the Album of the Year from the year prior. Alice in Chains, it had some of that there emotion there, boy. A lot of it, in fact. I considered Dirt to be one of the most real albums that I've ever heard. Like, that is just as real, it is raw, that is, man, that's some dark stuff. I'm making the top 10 Metal Idiots list. I will be, yes. I will be. Hopefully I can think of 10. Don't want to have to go back to old reliables. Just because I don't think they don't know they've done anything all that long this year. But I will be doing one of all time. I will be doing one of all time. Yeah, I will be meeting one. The game starts, I think, at 8 o'clock, so I'll be heading over there after we finish recharging the void. I don't have any problem with being a couple minutes behind. I don't have any problem with that. You wouldn't be surprised if Rockland's number 1 for the year? Well then, you'll be surprised in that case. Le'Veon Bell. Notice what happens whenever he had left Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, he became sort of this afterthought that's not talked about very much. Man, that tends to happen a lot, doesn't it? Like that other guy. That guy that was supposed to be on that team, and then it wasn't on the team, and then was on the other team, and then his head hurt, or his feet were like weird. That guy. Who's that again? I don't even remember who that is. There are some tracks on Facelift that are very dark, but there's also a contrast on there. There are some songs on there that are a little bit more positive sounding. Between the recording of Facelift and Dirt, some things went down in Staley's life that were not good. Really not good. You have to remember that also the influence of some of the drugs also creates some of those haunting, surreal atmospheres, because it's something that was very felt, and it was a very critical part of their sound. You know, whether you consider them a metal group, a rock group, or a grunge group, whatever you want to call them, one thing that you do have to say about those 90s Alice in Chains albums is that they did have a unique tone to them, and something that was 100% their own. Running backs are very dispensable. I think that's been proven, but I also think that if you have a good one, if you have one that's actually pretty effective on a consistent basis, you're going to want to keep that locked up for a little while. You know, just to have your depth chart look that much better. Because while I like James Conner as a person and love his story, he is not going to be able to do like what he did to the Chargers against every single team in the NFL. And that's that's not the greatest of things. Go to bed, all of us. It will be very, very soon. Saddest stuff was on Jar of Flies. I would actually say that some of the saddest stuff was on Black Gives Way to Blue, considering that was just an entire album, it feels like, of Jerry Cantrell mourning his friend, which is amazing that it didn't happen prior, you know, on a Jerry solo album such as Degradation Trip, which he in fact dedicated to Lane. But I have a feeling that it was something to do with just being, working on that project again, and the person that he was working with side by side was not Lane. Whenever Black Gives Way to Blue came out, there were a lot of people that didn't really like it all that much. That was also in my younger days as a reviewer, and I remember that whenever I first heard the title track, I did recognize its sadness, but it didn't click with me instantaneously. And then it very quickly became one of my favorite songs off of that album, alongside Private Hell and a few others. Whenever this era of Alice in Chains goes lengthy, and really it was very true with the era with Lane as well, whenever they're able to be very creative, they're a hell of a band. You know, Frogs isn't exactly a song that you're going to want to repeat over and over and over again, but it was one that showed what the band could do. Like at times, the slow prog of some of those songs is just their highlight. Yeah, I did see, and I do remember that a lot of people were not overly thrilled with Duvall. But I kind of attribute some of that to folks just feeling like Alice in Chains was never a band that should have been somebody other than Lane. Like if Cantrell wanted to, move forward with the band, then maybe they should have changed the name or something like that. But I'm of the opposite opinion. I feel that Duvall has done a very Herculean task of following up Lane Staley as a singer and doing a tremendous job. Are they different? Obviously. You know, is everything going to be exactly the same? No. But Lane was not an easy person to replace because his style was so different and unique. It's like trying to replace Scott Weiland, which of course the DeSanto brothers have tried on multiple occasions and done so once again. And I'm sorry to say, but the material will never be as good as whenever Scott was in the band, even if every song he was writing about heroin. It'd be like if Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl decided that they wanted to continue Nirvana by hiring a replacement for Kurt. That would have been a failed experiment. That would not have happened. It would not have gone over well with fans. It would not have sounded right. It wouldn't have. You know, that band was effectively dead in the water whenever that happened. It's like trying to replace Chris Cornell. It's like if the Mother Love Bone decided to try to replace Andy Wood. You know, there's a lot of those voices. You might think, oh, you could find a replacement. You know, especially a band like Mother Love Bone that was like only one album into their discography, but I can guarantee you try to replace them, unless that person is aces, there is no way that anything aside from Apple would have been seen as the sentimental favorite by just about every fan. I haven't heard it yet, surprise. I need to. I thought about trying out for that Stone Temple Pilots gig, but my singing days are over. My singing days are over, man. Atlanta is from number 4. That's correct. It's one of my favorites as well. That track right there, Recharging the Void, is one of the big reasons I think why Vektor was able to geek out the victory for Album of the Year in 2016. As a beast of a track, probably their best song. Just an absolutely tremendous song. Shame that one of the main men behind it is a raving douchebag. That's it. We have gone through the entirety of the Vektor discography. That is officially complete, and that is that. That's it for me as well. I'm going to be heading over for the ball game that I just remembered, exists tonight and is happening very soon. So I'm going to go do that, and we'll be back on Wednesday. Right around the same time, right around the same place. We will have some stuff to listen to then, and I will see all of you then. Thanks everybody for coming out. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care.